let's just do it one at a time.
Bruce has, he's signing it.
Okay. Now we have each lawyer with their clients. Still, I don't know who represents me at this point, so if you can help me out, that would be great.
Benjamin Hill, representing Paul Rifkin, Your Honor.
Okay.
Jeffrey Foyer, representing Elaine Davidson.
Richard Latimer, Representative Janet Azarovich, Joyce Johnson, Bill Marler.
All right, hold on 1 minute, Mr. Tell me again who your clients are. Janet
Alphabetically, Janet Azarovich. Joyce Johnson.
Okay.
William Waller. And Michael Rich.
Mr. Latimer, I came into this case a little late. Did anyone have a call with your clients about one lawyer representing all 4 clients? Was that ever done?
Yes.
Okay.
All
All right.
Yeah, I'll agree to that. Basically, the reason I'm representing those 4 particular clients is because we're all from Falmouth.
Okay.
And it was,
As I understand it, the defendants all have a similar defense, and there's no antagonistic defenses here, right?
there's no antagonism. There may be a slight difference between Mr. Rich and the others,
Okay.
based on where they were arrested.
Okay.
But there's no difference based on what they were doing or
All right.
what they intended.
Thank you.
Yeah, you
Oh, sorry. Diane Turco Pro Se. Diane Turco Pro Se.
Okay.
Morning, Your Honor.
Mhm.
Douglas Long, LONG. I'm pro se also.
All right, thank you. Who do you represent?
I represent Femke Rosenbaum, Susan Carpenter,
Hold on 1 minute, please.
Sarah Thatcher, Margaret Rice Moore.
And again, a colloquy was conducted with your clients regarding one lawyer representing all 4 of them?
Yes, Your Honor.
All right, thank you very much. All right. Mr. Hiller, would you have your client come forward, please? Sir, would you raise your right hand?
Sorry, I can't, and this goes to, in general, I can't hear you, Your Honor.
Okay.
I'm wondering if there can be a microphone or something.
All right,
My
I'll see
apologies.
That's fine. Why don't you step up here? I'll do my best to keep my voice up. Is that any better?
Perfect, thank you.
Okay. Would you raise your right hand, please?
You solemnly swear that the testimony you give to the court is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God.
I do.
Would you tell me your name, please, sir?
Paul Rifkin,
And Mr. Rifkin, how old are you?
I'm 71.
How far have you gone in school?
I went a long way in school, graduate school, a lot of stuff.
Okay. You understand, sir, that your case is here today for trial. A trial in this court can be with a judge or a jury. A jury would be 6 people chosen at random from the community, and with your lawyer, you can help select that jury. You could challenge any two jurors for no reason at all, challenge any juror for good cause, and the burden of proof is on the Commonwealth to prove you guilty beyond a reasonable doubt and to a moral certainty, and the jury's verdict must be unanimous. Do you understand that?
I do, Your Honor.
You also have the right to have a judge hear your case. A judge would listen to the evidence, determine what the facts are, apply the law to those facts to see whether or not the Commonwealth has met that burden. Do you understand that?
I do.
Now, it's very important that you discuss your right to a trial with your lawyer, and it's important that you listen to your lawyer's advice. But the decision as to whether you have your case tried by a judge or a jury is entirely your decision. Do you understand that?
I do, Your Honor.
And what is your decision, sir? Do you want your case tried by a judge or a jury?
A judge.
Okay, I find that Mr. Rifkin has voluntarily waived his right to a jury trial, and we can have a seat.
Thank you.
I think we'll do this a little bit differently.
Yeah, just,
Yes.
just to, I think the court is perhaps entitled to a little bit of an explanation and an apology to anybody who's been inconvenienced. It was out of respect for the court and the court's time and how long we realized it was going to take to try this case that we made this decision after due deliberation. So we do want to apologize to anybody who's been inconvenienced, but that's the reason we did it, and we just came to this conclusion yesterday.
There's no reason to apologize, and please don't let time restraints infringe upon a person's right to a jury trial. We can try this case all month if need be, if your clients want a jury trial.
We understand that, Your Honor.
Okay. All right, thank you very much. Let's address some other preliminary matters before we go through all these colloquies. And I think for the other colloquies, rather than doing 12, maybe we'll go through it with everyone and down the line, unless there's an objection.
No objection.
Okay. All right. Preliminarily, as to the layout of the courtroom and how we're going to proceed that way. Mr. Clerk, you spoke with somebody who wanted to be heard?
Yes, Judge, we do have a film, a documentary filmmaker, Mr. Lips, who I spoke with on the phone the other day. He had some questions in court.
Hi. And I did receive some correspondence from the SDC, sure. I want all the lawyers to be able to hear you.
Oh, yes. So I'm filming a documentary in association with HBO, and I thank you for granting me permission to come here. And I am a registered media individual in Massachusetts.
That's why you were granted permission.
Yes. So I had requested, and you had graciously granted me permission to put a microphone on for the witness stand.
And the microphone on the witness stand, I'm hoping, will help all of the defendants be able to hear the witness's testimony. Okay.
But my microphone is for the video recording. There's a separate microphone for the
Okay.
court system. And I would like to also ask your permission to be able to put a microphone for the opening and closing statements from the podium.
I don't have a problem with that. Mr. Gillen, do you?
I have no objection.
Any of the defense counsel have a problem with opening statements? Okay.
And since I'm feeling lucky, if I could also put a microphone on your bench. And just to let you know that all three microphones will be controlled by an on and off switch that the court officer can turn off during any conferences.
Court officer willing to undertake that. My concern is that I don't want any of the sidebar conferences recorded other than for the record of the case. In all likelihood, I will forget to turn it off, and I don't know.
That was my only concern, Your Honor, was that sidebars not be recorded by the videographer.
Do you think that between all of us, we can remember at the sidebar conference to make sure that it's turned
And I
on?
can also be responsible for that.
I don't see that as a problem.
Okay, then sure we can do that.
Thank you very much. And just to let you know, I'm put the microphones up and then have tape down on the floor for the cables so nobody trips, and it's very safe.
Okay. All right.
Thank you.
Any objections to anything we just heard requested?
No, Your Honor. No, Your Honor. No objection.
Okay. All right. Is it with you?
Yes, we're collaborating.
Morning. All right. Any other preliminary matters before we go through all these calls? Okay. Let's see. If we could have Mr. Fior and you and Mr. Radical could have your clients all come forward, please.
Charles, will you please raise your right hands? Each of you solemnly swear that the testimony to give the court is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God.
I do.
Ma'am, would you tell me your name, please? In the red.
Elaine Dickinson,
And Ms. Dickinson, how old are you?
64,
How far have you gone to school?
some grade school.
Thank you. And next to you is whom?
Joyce Johnson.
All right. Ms. Johnson, would you tell me? Sorry, I need to ask. Skip the age question.
No, I want to see.
Oh.
81,
All right. How far have you gone in school?
through graduate school.
All right. Thank you. And next to you,
William Morrow,
Mr. Mara, how old are you, sir?
64,
And how far have you gone in school?
graduate school.
And next to you,
Janet S.R., that's
and Mrs. Arvich, would you tell us your age, please?
72,
And how far have you gone in school?
up to graduate school. Graduate school.
Thank you. And next to you,
Michael Rich,
okay, Mr. Rich, how old are you?
71,
And how far have you gone in school?
graduate school.
Now, all of you are aware that your case is here today for trial, and the trial in this court could be with the judge or jury. A jury would be 6 people chosen at random from the community, and with your lawyers you could help select that jury. You could challenge any 2 jurors for no reason at all, challenge any juror for good cause, and the burden of proof is on the Commonwealth to prove you guilty beyond a reasonable doubt and to a moral certainty, and the jury's verdict must be unanimous. Do you understand that, Ms. Dickinson?
Yes, Your Honor.
Do you understand that, Ms. Johnson?
Yes, Your Honor.
Mr. Morrow, do you understand that? Mrs. Arvitz, do you understand that?
Yes.
And Mr. Rich, do you understand that?
Yes, Your Honor.
Each of you also has a right to have a judge hear your case. A judge would listen to the evidence, determine what the facts are, apply the law to those facts to see whether or not the Commonwealth has met that burden. Do you understand that, Ms. Dickinson?
Yes, Your Honor.
Do you understand that, Ms. Johnson?
Yes, Your Honor.
Do you understand that, Mr. Marr?
Yes, Your Honor.
Do you understand that, Mrs. Arvitz?
Yes.
And do you understand that, Mr. Rich?
Yes, Your Honor.
Now, it's very important that each one of you discusses your right to a trial with your lawyer, and it's important that you listen to your lawyer's advice. But the decision as to whether you have your case tried by a judge or jury is entirely your individual decision. Do each of you understand that? Ms. Dickinson, what's your decision? Do you want your case tried by a judge or jury?
A judge, Your Honor.
Ms. Johnson, how about you? Do you want your case tried by a judge or jury?
Yes, a judge.
Mr. Marr, sir, do you want your case tried by a judge or jury?
The judge.
Mrs. Arvitz, do you want your case tried by a judge or jury?
A judge.
Mr. Rich, do you want your case tried by a judge or jury?
The judge, please, Your Honor.
All right, I find that each one of these folks wants their case tried by a judge and has voluntarily waived their right to a jury trial. Thank you very much. You may all be seated. Ms. Turco and Mr. Long, would you step forward, please?
Yes, Your Honor.
Each of you please raise your right hands. Each of you solemnly swear that the testimony to give the court is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God. I do. Thank you.
Ms. Turco, would you tell me your full name, please?
Diane Turbo,
And how old are you?
60,
How far have you gone in school?
graduate school.
Now, you understand that you have a right to be represented by a lawyer in this case.
Yes.
And if you could not afford a lawyer could be appointed to represent you. Do you understand
Yes.
that? Are you choosing to give up that right to counsel and represent yourself here?
Yes.
And also, you understand that at trial today, the case could be tried by a jury or a judge. I am Mr. Long. Would you tell me your full name, sir?
Douglas Randolph Long,
How old are you?
71.
How far have you gone in school?
I have a BA and I attended graduate studies in Europe.
Okay. And you understand, sir, that you have a right to have a lawyer represent you on this case?
Yes,
And if you can't afford a lawyer can be appointed to represent you. Do you understand that?
yes,
Are you choosing to represent yourself and waiving your right to a lawyer, sir?
yes, I am, Your Honor.
And you also understand that your case is here today for trial.
Yes, Your Honor.
Now, a trial in this court could be with a judge or a jury, as you heard. A jury would be 6 people chosen at random, and you would participate in the jury selection. You could challenge any 2 jurors for no reason at all and challenge any juror for good cause. And the burden of proof is on the Commonwealth to prove you guilty beyond a reasonable doubt and to a moral certainty, and the jury's verdict must be unanimous. Do you understand that?
Yes, Your Honor.
You also have the right to have a judge hear your case. A judge will listen to the evidence, determine what the facts are, apply the law to those facts to see whether or not the Commonwealth has met that burden. Do you understand that?
Yes.
Yes,
Now, Ms. Turco, what is your choice here? Do you want a judge to hear your case or a jury?
I'm going with the judge, like everyone else.
All right. You don't have to just because everyone else is. Are you doing it voluntarily? Mr. Long, do you want your case tried by a judge or a jury?
by a judge, Your Honor, although...
I don't think you signed this.
What?
This has Mr. Todd's name on it. Mr. Todd, want to take a look at that? I think you signed
Oh,
as counsel.
Put my name down for both the pro se defendants relative to the question of whether they were informed
All right.
of their rights.
I appreciate that.
okay. Oh, sorry, Your Honor.
That's okay. You want your case tried by a judge or jury?
Reluctantly by a judge, even though I respect totally Your Honor's confidence and all, but I'm a fan of the Magna Carta, and so I was preferring a jury, but I'm joining my colleagues in a group decision to be representing.
It has to
front of
be
you.
your decision. We are happy to give you a jury
It is
trial.
my decision, Your Honor, to be heard by you. Thank you. I sign the waiver.
I know you signed the waiver.
I was not under threat of personal injury of any kind. It's completely voluntary, Your Honor. I'm just making a little speech.
All right, I do find that your decision to waive the jury is wrong. All right, thank you. You may both sit down, please.
Please raise your right hand. Do you solemnly swear that the testimony you give the court is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
Yes.
Thank you.
Who is Ms. Rosenbaum? Ms. Rosenbaum, would you tell me your full name, please?
Femma Rosenbaum,
And how old are you?
69.
How far have you gone in school?
Yes.
Thank you. Who's Ms. Carpenter? Oh, wait, what is so proud? Would you tell me your full name, please?
Susan Carpenter,
How old are you, ma'am?
71.
How far have you gone in school?
Many years of college, nothing other than an AA to show.
Okay. Ms. Thatcher? Ms. Thatcher, could you tell me your full name, please?
Sarah Thatcher,
And how old are you, ma'am?
79.
And how far have you gone in school?
That would be it.
Okay. And Ms. Moore?
Bryce Moyer.
Bryce Moore, I'm sorry. How old are you now?
65,
And how far have you gone in school?
graduate degree.
You're all here today represented by counsel, and as you know, your case is scheduled today for trial. A trial in this court could be with a judge or a jury. A jury would be 6 people chosen at random from the community, and with your lawyer, you could help select that jury. You could challenge any 2 jurors for no reason at all, challenge any juror for good cause, and the burden of proof is on the Commonwealth to prove you guilty beyond a reasonable doubt and to a moral certainty, and the jury's verdict must be unanimous. Do you understand that? Do you understand that, Ms. Rosenthal?
Yes, I do.
Ms. Carpenter?
Yes.
Ms. Rice-Moyer? Yes. Do you understand that, Ms. Thatcher? You also have the right to have a judge hear your case. The judge would listen to the evidence, determine what the facts are, apply the law to those facts to see whether or not the Commonwealth has met that burden. Do you understand that, Ms. Rosenbaum?
Yes, I do.
Do you understand that, Ms. Carpenter?
Yes, I do.
Do you understand that, Ms. Rice-Moyer?
Yes.
And do you understand that, Ms. Thatcher? Now, it's very important that you discuss your right to a trial with your lawyer, and it's important that you listen to your lawyer's advice. But the decision as to whether you have your case tried by a judge or a jury is entirely your individual decision. Do each of you understand that?
Yes.
Ms. Rosenbaum, do you want your case tried by a judge or a jury?
A judge.
Ms. Carpenter, do you want your case tried by a judge or a jury?
A judge.
Ms. Rice-Moyer, do you want your case tried by a judge or a jury?
A judge.
Ms. Thatcher, do you want your case tried by a judge or a jury? Okay, I find that each and every jury waiver is knowing, intelligent, involuntary, and I accept. Okay, you may all be seated. Logistically, a lot of things are easier without a jury. Where do you want all your clients to sit? Have you given any thought to that? Do you want us to try and get seats within the bar, or do you want them to just remain in the audience? How do you want to do this?
Can I have 1 second
Sure.
on the client's thing? The court is offering to have you sit on this side, which is not far from having to defend us in cases, or you can stay here. Preferences?
Each one.
Inside?
The closer the better.
That does not have to be universal, does it, Your Honor?
No.
So, anybody who wants to sit inside, come inside the court, will be in the seat. Anybody who's happy staying here?
Actually, Mr. Todd, the clerk had a great idea. Do they want to sit in the jury box?
That puts them a little far from counsel.
You can walk over to them. They can hear the
If you would like
witnesses.
to sit in a comfortable jury box, that's also available. The jury box inside the bar, or where you are. Court will accommodate your wishes. There are seats here.
Why don't I take a 5-minute recess and let you... The defendants are permitted to sit wherever you want them.
Yes, thanks, thank you, Your Honor.
All rise.
My mother says I'm humble.
Please be seated. The court's back in session.
All right, you ready? If your clients can't hear something, if they raise their hands during the course of it, then everyone will try and really keep their voices up. I appreciate it. Okay, Mr. Killen.
John, may I approach perhaps with one counsel? I've already spoken to everyone. I just want to address one administrative issue that.
Sure.
Thank you.
Mr. Killam, is there someone other than Mr. Noble who could help you out?
Yes, we approach that part for this now.
I'm gonna get my steps in today.
All right, Mr. Killam.
Your Honor, Sean Hill for the Commonwealth, government unit on trial on this matter, Your Honor.
Yes, to each one of these 12 defendants.
That's right, Your
All
Honor.
right, I'll hear you. You want to do an opening statement?
I will provide a brief opening statement summarizing my expected testimony that will be presented by the government today. On March 13, 2013, on May 9,
Yes.
on March 13, 2013, and May 19, 2013, 12 individuals who refer to themselves as the Cape Downwinders trespassed. They crossed the line. They committed a crime. They broke the law. And their reason for doing so, as I expect the testimony to be, is because they believe that it was necessary. Now, this trespass occurred at the power plant in Plymouth, Massachusetts, the power plant commonly known as the Pilgrim Nuclear Power Plant. This power plant is an area designated by the water as an exclusion zone that prevents any non-private individuals who are authorized to be on the premises to stay off of the premises. The premises is designated by signs including a no trespass sign and an exclusion sign, both of which are at the front gate of the access road. The access road and the front gate that all 12 defendants crossed in an effort to intentionally trespass on the property. Now, when they trespassed, they organized in a fashion that was orderly, peaceful, and organized. These 12 individuals brought signs. At one point, they even brought music, a poet, and they performed in a manner to protest against the presence of the power plant. That's the government's case, Your Honor. The government intends to show that they did unlawfully cross the boundary, stepped over the line, and therefore were charged with the offenses that are now before the court of trespass. On March 13, 2013, Paul Rifkin, Michael Rich, Elaine Dickerson, and Susan Carpenter crossed the line. On May 19, 2013, Joyce Johnson, Diane Turco, Douglas Long, William Mora, Sarah Thatcher, Femke Rosenbaum, Margaret Rice Moore, and Janet Izarovitz crossed the line. That's the government's case, sir.
All right, thank you very much. Who am I going to hear from first?
The government will call as its
I'm
first...
sorry, I meant defense counsel.
Thank you, Your Honor. I have short opening statements by myself, by both of our pro se defendants, and by Mr. Latimer.
Okay, I'm going to ask you to keep your voice up.
Sure. Thank you, Your Honor. So, Your Honor, what you're faced with here are 12 people who engaged in an act of conscience. You're going to hear the defendants themselves testify that they were faced with what they perceived to be a crime and a danger to themselves, to the people of Plymouth, to Cape Cod, and all of Eastern Mass. And that danger was the Pilgrim Nuclear Power Plant. And faced with that danger, they chose to act to try and abate that danger rather than not act and allow that danger to continue to threaten them and their fellow citizens. The dangers that they and their citizens of their community faced will be laid out by expert witnesses. We will have a nuclear scientist testify. Dr. Gordon Thompson will probably be our witness. He is the executive director of the Institute for Resource and Security Studies in Cambridge, Mass., and is an expert in the field of energy, environment, sustainable development, and international security. You'll also hear from Dr. Richard Clapp, who is a professor emeritus of environmental health at Boston University School of Public Health. And he's going to talk about the dangers from the radiation leaks that occur
at Pilgrim Nuclear Power Plant, the increased incidence of cancer that have been studied and documented. You're also going to hear from Kevin Nord, who is the fire chief of the town of Duxbury and in charge of emergency planning. And he will talk about the lack of evacuation plans should there be an accident, like a Fukushima accident at the Pilgrim Nuclear Power Plant, and the inability to protect people should that accident occur. Those dangers were real, they were immediate, they're continuing, and our clients will testify that they knew about these dangers. And faced with this overwhelming danger, our clients felt compelled to act, to do whatever they could to try and end this danger. They had tried many other activities in the past to end this danger. They tried letter writing, petitioning, meeting with government officials, testifying at public hearings, writing to the NRC, seeking to get new legislation passed. Just recently, all 15 communities on Cape Cod had voted to ask the governor of Massachusetts to send a letter to the NRC to close the Pilgrim nuclear plant. All 15 communities. Our clients have been involved in those, in obtaining those votes and promoting that vote. The plant was still operating. And you're going to hear from State Senator Dan Wolf, who's going to testify as to the legislative and other administrative activities that our clients were involved in to try and get this danger abated, to try and get this plant closed. You're also going to hear from Mary Lambert, who is the director of Pilgrim Watch in Duxbury, about all of the administrative efforts that were made with working through the processes of the town of Duxbury, the Massachusetts legislature, the Massachusetts Emergency Management Agency, and the NRC to get the plant either made safe or closed, and how those activities had not yet abated that danger. Nothing else was working. Our clients could not continue to stand by and see this danger continue. They had tried everything else. The hope and expectation that they had was that they were going to try and increase public pressure and put pressure on the company itself to recognize the danger and agree to close that plant. And you will hear from an expert witness on the efficacious effects of civil disobedience in achieving ends like that. Dr. Stephen Nathanson from the philosophy department at Northeastern University will testify about that. In the end, our clients went there to increase pressure on the company, on the public officials, to get this plant closed. They didn't go there to commit a crime. They went there to stop a crime. And what they did was necessary to prevent and abate the danger that they and their fellow citizens were facing. Thank you.
Good morning, Your Honor. I'm just going to address another issue in addition to the one articulated. Speak on.
You need to keep voice.
In addition to the evidence articulated by Mr. Boyer, I would also add that what the evidence in this case will show is that the roadway on which the majority of these defendants were arrested on May 19th is not closed to the public generally. It is generally open to the public. The evidence will show that such no trespassing signs that are on that portion of Powerhouse Road are all facing towards the road, not facing towards facing outward to indicate that no trespassing on the grounds on either side of that road. The evidence will show that none of the defendants went past those signs onto the ground. They stayed on the roadway. the evidence will show that that road being normally open to the public was owned by a quasi-public agency. The evidence will show that the Entergy Corporation, although a private for-profit business, is also so inextricably controlled by the NRC that it cannot be considered a purely private enterprise. And this is especially, the evidence will also show that the enabling statute that allowed that corporation to exist clearly states that it is carrying out a public purpose under federal law, which, among others, which will be energy independence, providing for the national defense. The evidence will show that there is such a total degree of control by the NRC and such a total degree of involvement in carrying out public policies by Entergy that Entergy is in fact a public actor when they had these defendants arrested. The evidence will also show that the conduct for which the defendants were arrested was expressive conduct. In fact, the only means they chose to effectuate their concern for the necessity to close it down was in the nature of First Amendment protections, peaceable assembly, free speech, and indirectly petitioning government. That is what the evidence will show, in addition to the great necessity for the defendants to do what they did.
Great. Thank you, counsel.
Hi, I'm Diane Turco. Okay, all right. I'm here with my dear friends and colleagues here, and I'd like to start off by saying that we were arrested and charged with trespassing, but we weren't trespassing. We entered a crime scene, and our testimony will show that the continued operation of the Pilgrim nuclear reactor is a crime against humanity. It threatens there's two reasons. One, it threatens our health and safety. We will present evidence regarding the lessons learned at Fukushima and how the NRC has abdicated its responsibility for public health and safety. We'll talk about the dangers of the ongoing General Electric Mark I boiling water reactor that has a known design containment that can fail in the event of a severe accident. We'll talk about the ongoing leaks, the no evacuations for Cape Cod, the potassium iodide pills that are given to the public. We'll also talk about the relicensing over the objections of the Governor Patrick, over Attorney General Coakley, over Representative Keating, State Senator Dan Wolf. So we will be presenting all of this information to you in testimony. The second thing that is also threatened by the continued operation of the reactor is our democracy. We have worked hard to try and fight for public safety, and our elected representatives haven't been able to do much. We have, as Attorney Ferrer said, that we had 15 towns on Cape Cod vote to ask our governor to call on the Nuclear Regulatory Commission to uphold their mandate to provide for public safety by closing the reactor, because they're telling us it's not safe. All right? And even the governor said last week there's not much he can do, but he's now writing a letter on our behalf. It should come up today in the press. Our state constitution calls on our government to protect us, but that's not happening. And quote from our state constitution, that it should furnish the individuals who comprise it with the power of enjoying in safety and tranquility their natural rights and blessings of life. And whenever these great objects are not obtained, the people have a right to take measures necessary for their safety and prosperity and happiness. And that's exactly what we're doing. Our elected officials haven't been able to do anything. The NRC isn't doing anything. The corporations is making profit over public safety. So we, the people, have to stand up and speak up for ourselves and our families and our beloved community. So in closing, Dr. Helen Caldicott said that informed democratic behavior. I'm sorry. Yes, I know. Okay. Yes. Dr. Helen Caldicott said, informed democratic behavior. Oh God. I'm sorry.
It's okay. Take your time.
Helen Caldicott said, "Reformed democracies behave in a responsible manner." So given this testimony that we're going to present to you, we hope that you find us not guilty of trespassing. Because in the best American tradition, we have acted on a moral imperative with civic responsibility.
Still good morning, Your Honor. My name is Douglas Long, and I am pro se, as you know. I joined my colleagues in the necessity defense, and I have a statement which was kind of geared to jurors, but if you don't mind some of the
I don't mind at all.
language. Okay, very good. As a matter of background, I have been active in working to close the Pilgrim plant and abate the dangers therein for as old as my son is. He's going to be 26 in August, and I remember this because when we were marching in favor of a referendum to include Cape Cod in the evacuation plan, which never happened incidentally, my wife was 7 months pregnant with him. So pushing the, not even push her, but anyway, that's how I remember how long I've been doing this on Cape Cod. However, lots has changed. We've made a lot of progress, and that will get to the efficacious commentary that's coming up here in a moment. I'll be as brief as possible. The prosecution will try to reduce my action that day at the Pilgrim plant into to such a simplistic degree that you would forget that life has many degrees of values and legalities. Thus, as a matter of fact, the many shelves of legal books and case law on the shelves of lawyers' offices and courtrooms. Here we go. If laws were perfect and citizens' reactions to them equally perfect, neither the prosecutor nor our attorneys would have a job. I think only Her Honor would have a job, I think. Without the necessity defense, which I'm invoking, along with my co-defendants, honest citizens would be punished for breaking rules that stop unjust wars, racial discrimination, or corporations or people or government agencies or military units from dumping toxic chemicals, fuels, radiation, etc., into our soil, our airs, and our lives. It's an issue of safety and health. I expect to show evidence that will prove that I had very good reason to know the clear and imminent danger represented by the Pilgrim Nuclear Power Station in Plymouth that day in May of 2013. I will be showing evidence about the threats, for instance, of imminent danger by the fact that the Pilgrim power plant is the most had the most shutdowns of any in the entire United States of America, and 100 plus operating plants of automatic and manual shutdowns. It was therefore, in fact, visited by the chairperson of the NRC and made one of the nation's 9 most flawed and dangerous nuclear power plants in the United States. Number 2, according to this thing here, Pilgrim has also been given the infamous title of the 8th most vulnerable nuclear power plant in the United States, vulnerable to terrorist attacks by sea. And evidence will show that this is just an incredibly vulnerable plant. Anybody can paddle up there, and I won't even go into details. It is so dangerous. It's just amazing. There is really no safety at all against terrorist attacks. Number 3, this plant, talk about imminent danger, it was shut down by the NRC for 3 years It was so flawed in its design, building, and management in the late 1980s, 86 to 89, 3 years. And I think they've struggled ever since then to run a decent plant. I still consider that imminent danger because the effects are still with the plant and the management. Okay. Now, would I expect that my action that day to have efficacy in abating the dangers that I've just been listing? Yes, absolutely. In fact, all across the country, citizens like myself and my co-defendants have been crossing lines in order to build awareness and educate our legislators and educate our citizens and inform the same through the press also of these imminent dangers. And a lot has changed, including, as my co-defendant Diane just said, since we started our civic action in Cape Town Winders, the governor of the state, Commonwealth of Massachusetts, has sent more than one letter actually to the NRC, and in fact is sending one, publishing it today, a second one. Attorney General Martha Coakley has mentioned. Representative Bill Keating, State Senator Dan Wolf, who you'll hear from, State Representative Sarah Peake of the Outer Cape, all and more, Cleon Turner, State Rep, all have sent letters and or made public statements desiring to close this plant. Now, why would they do that? If they didn't think there was imminent danger, why would they go to this trouble and expose their political careers to attack by the people who run the plant and who also contribute to campaigns against civic action like ours? Am I doing okay? Am I running too long here? Okay. Very quickly, some quick examples of citizens' actions like ours that have been efficacious. In the 1980s, a brand new functioning at 5% test capacity nuclear reactor plant in Shoreham, Long Island was shut down, dismantled, decommissioned because of civic action like ours. Citizens getting together and crossing lines for educational and informative purposes. Acts of conscience drove them and us to educate and inform in the best ways we could after having exhausted basically all other tools at our hand. Also, the people we were just talking about, the legislators who have made public statements, that's a big deal. And examples like this is what gives me confidence that the efficacious argument stands, and that it is therefore the reason and the justification for our action that day. My action was in May. And I'm hoping that based on these ideas, you will find me not guilty of the charge.
Great. Thank you, Mr. Moore.
Thank you.
Anyone else?
I'll reserve it.
Okay. All right, Mr. Dillon, do you have a witness available?
Yes, Your Honor. The government calls its first witness, Mr. Carhart from the Plymouth Police Department.
swear that the testimony to be recorded is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
Maybe.
Good morning, sir. Can you please introduce yourself to the judge?
And Mr. Killen, I'm going to ask you to keep your voice up, and officer, I'm going to ask you to keep your voice up so the folks in the corner can hear you.
My name is Officer Paul Caraher from the Police Department.
Sir, can you spell your last name?
Carahher.
How long have you worked for the Plymouth Police Department?
Approximately 19 years.
And what is your role with the Plymouth Police Department?
Patrolman.
And were you working on March 13, 2013?
Yes, I was.
What was your assignment that day?
I believe I was on patrol. I don't recall my area.
Why don't you tell the judge what you do ordinarily when you're on patrol?
Well, ordinarily I'm the school resource officer, but I'm a patrolman. And during the summertime, I go on back on patrol.
March 13, 2013, while on patrol, do you go down to the area of 600 Rocky Hill Road?
Sorry to interrupt you, Mr. Killen. Some of the defendants are having difficulty hearing us.
Myself and sir, I'm just going to have to ask you to belt it out. Let everyone
The
hear.
microphone does not amplify.
It does, okay.
Okay?
Sorry.
So just belt it out. I'm sorry. If it helps to stand, please feel free to stand. Whatever works for you.
I'll stay.
So on the 13th, did you go down to 600 Rocky Hill Road in the town of Plymouth?
Yes, I did.
And what is that location there?
That's the Entergy power plant.
Okay. Are you familiar with that area?
Yes, I am.
Would you describe that area to the judge?
The area is located in the Manomet section of Plymouth. It's on the south side of the Pine Hills. It's accessed through what they call Powerhouse Road. It's a long access road that leads to the Entergy power plant.
How do you get from Mainland to Powerhouse Road, which gets you down to the power plant?
You can take State Road. There's two ways to get there. You can take State Road to Powerhouse Road and go down Powerhouse Road, or you can access it from Rocky Hill Road to the access.
Why don't you take us back to March 13, 2013, and tell the judge what you see as you're driving up to the power plant access area.
Actually, I responded from Rocky Hill, heading north, Rocky Hill Road. I took a right onto the access road. There's a guard, I believe there's a guard shack on the left-hand side. I went down. There were approximately 15, 20, 25 individuals beyond, I would probably say, 40 to 50 yards beyond that guard shack on the access road and on the side of the access road. It's actually, it's located near the parking lot, the main parking lot.
Now that area that these 15, 20 individuals are at, when you say that they're beyond the shackled gate, where is that gate?
That's located right at the access road, right off of Rocky Hill Road.
Okay. And the parking lot you mentioned, is that parking for the public or for Entergy company?
I believe it's Entergy.
Okay. Now when you come...
So you believe, get the problem.
All right, I'll start that. Ask another question.
Where in respect to the access road is the parking lot?
Approximately a quarter of a mile in, off of Rocky Hill Road.
These 15, 20 individuals you see, can you describe what they, age or any description you can give us based on what you remember?
Well, I could tell, there were a number, they were older. Some of them were holding signs. I'm sorry. Yes, they were older than myself.
What did they appear to be doing at that time?
They appear to be walking up and down the road. Some of them were holding signs.
And what did the signs say?
I don't recall what the signs said.
And can you describe their demeanor at that time?
They were walking. I mean, they weren't, extremely boisterous. They weren't. I don't even think they were boisterous. They were just walking up and down.
Other than yourself, who else is there and these people?
There were myself, Officer Jesse, Officer Savard, Officer Morse, and there may have been another officer. I know the sergeant showed up.
Are these all police officers with Plymouth?
They are.
And the 20 folks that are down the road, 40 yards or so, What property are they on?
I believe they're on Edison Access property.
Is that a belief, or are you sure that they're?
Well,
The follow-up question was, is that a belief or are you certain?
I'm sorry, they're on Edison Access property.
The gate area that you mentioned earlier, can you describe that to the court?
I'm sorry?
The gate area that leads down to the road that gets you to the power plant, can you describe that gate area to the judge?
From the Powerhouse Road or the access road off of Rocky Hill Road?
The access road off of Rocky Hill Road.
The access road off of Rocky Hill Road is approximately a quarter mile to a little over a quarter mile. It leads to a large parking lot. Towards, I think that's the main gate.
And at that main gate, when you arrived, is that open or closed?
I don't recall.
And what do you do after you arrive and see these folks carrying the signs and walking down the street?
I arrived and I assist the officer, whose call it was, Officer Jesse.
Other than the folks that were down towards the parking lot on the power plant property, were there any other folks there that weren't of law enforcement or authority?
I don't know.
No. And after making your observations, about what time did the sergeant arrive on scene?
I don't recall.
Sure, I have no further questions for this witness.
Right?
Officer Carraher, my name is Richard Lammer. I represent several of these defendants. I just want you to be clear. When you're talking about arresting some people on March 13th,
Yes.
They were on which road?
They were actually in the parking lot.
Off which road?
Off the access road.
Name the road.
I don't know the name of the road. We just refer to it as at the access road.
Was it Powerhouse
It
Road?
wasn't Powerhouse Road, no.
Was it Rocky Hill Road?
No.
Now, you have testified that when you got there, you don't remember whether the gate was open or not. Is that correct?
The main gate?
The gate that leads into that access road. You don't remember whether that gate was open or not.
The gate, I thought he was referring to the gate leading into the power plant itself, the main gate.
Where the guard shack is. You recall?
No, that was open. That was clearly open.
That gate was open?
Yes.
And did you see anybody in the guard shack?
No.
And which particular individuals was it that you saw in that access road area in the parking lot?
There were a group of the individuals. I don't know their names.
Was there 2 or 3, or were there a dozen?
No, there were a dozen or so.
And you're saying there were a dozen people that were in the access road, past the guard shack,
Towards the parking lot, correct.
on the other side of Rocky Hill Road.
The east side of the road, yes.
Yeah, I just want to be very clear, and I would use the chalk here.
Could you show it to the prosecutor first, please? Show it to the prosecutor first, please.
Officer Carraher, I'm showing you a map with some colored highlights. You recognize the area that's depicted here?
Yes, I do.
Is that the area that you've just been testifying about? Where the nuclear plant is?
Yes, that's correct.
Louder, please.
That's correct, yes.
Could I ask that you put a circle, or no, put an X where you found this group of people? When you arrived at the scene, where you saw it? On March 13th.
Approximately,
You put the X right there, okay.
this is Rocky Hill Road,
Yeah,
the Powerhouse Road.
right, that's marked on the map, right?
Yep.
Powerhouse Road, Rocky Hill. So, this group of people were, when I say the other side of Rocky Hill Road, they were on the other side of Rocky Hill Road from Powerhouse Road.
From Powerhouse, yes.
Thank you.
And as far as the main gate, there's gates here, I believe, but the main gate is where the employees have access. That's what I thought the main gate was referring to.
Okay, well, could you put a circle where the guardhouse is?
I didn't know, sorry.
Okay, and is there a gate near the guardhouse there?
Yeah, I can't recall if there's a gate right there at Rocky Hill.
Do you recall?
Access. I know there's one at top of Powerhouse.
I asked the,
You need to keep your voices up.
I'm sorry. As far as a gate, there's a gate at State Road and Powerhouse Road. There's a gate, Powerhouse Road on the west side, I believe, at Rocky Hill.
Let me interrupt you. Those two gates, were they open or closed, if you recall?
I can't recall whether they were closed or open.
Now we go to the other side of Rocky Hill Road. Was there a gate there?
I can't recall if there's a gate there or not.
You recall whether there was, but you can't recall whether any gate was open or closed at that point by the guy?
Oh, it was. I drove it. I drove down when I arrived on the scene. I drove. There wasn't. I don't recall if there's a gate there, but it wasn't locked.
Okay, and you just was open enough for you to drive?
Yes, I drove down. Yes, that's correct.
Oh, may I have this marked?
Okay, I want you to show Mr. Killam where he marked, and you can also show me the X in the circle. All right, so council, again, the X represents what, and the circle represents?
Where the defendants were located when they left this meeting. The circle represents the guardhouse.
No objection to this, Mr. Killam?
no objection.
You mark this as exhibit 1.
No further questions.
Okay. Anyone else have any questions?
No,
Mr. Killam, any follow-up?
no problem.
All right, officer, you're all set, sir.
Thank you.
Next witness is someone called Anthony D'Angelo.
Sir, please raise your right hand. Do you solemnly swear that the testimony will give the court is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
Thank you, babies.
Sir, I'm going to ask you to keep your voice up so that the folks in the corner can hear you, and the microphone is not going to amplify your voice.
Okay.
Good morning, sir. Can you please introduce yourself to Judge Kennedy?
I'm Sergeant Anthony D'Angelo
Where do you work, Sergeant?
for the town of Plymouth Police Department.
How long have you worked for Plymouth Police Department?
16 years now,
How long have you been a sergeant?
roughly about 7 or 8 years.
As a sergeant, what do you do?
I patrol the streets like the patrolmen do. I go to calls. A lot of times I go there to give advice or to make decisions when it comes into a gray area.
Familiar with the Entergy company the Pilgrim nuclear power plant
I'd like
station.
to ask you, is it possible for you to stand so that the folks can see you? Is that
No
all
problem.
right? Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Are you familiar with the Plymouth power plant station?
Yes, I am.
And how are you familiar with that station?
I grew up down the street from it my entire life. My wife worked there for 22 years, and I've been dealing with it with being a police officer. Been there many times with different calls.
Can you describe that area and where it's located in Plymouth?
It's located in the southern part of town along the coastline, just north of Priscilla Beach, along Rocky Hill Road.
Your Honor, may I retrieve exhibit number 1 and approach the witness?
Sure.
Sir, I'm handing you what has been previously marked as exhibit number 1. Would you please take a look at that? You recognize that?
Yes, it's a map of the area in which the power plant's located.
Okay, would you hold that map up so that the court can see, but also if possible so everyone else can see, and kind of describe with your knowledge of being aware of the area what we're looking at there?
What you're looking at, this is Route 3A, otherwise known as State Road, coming down through here. That's the yellow, the light yellow. Over here, this bright yellow coming in. It's known as Powerhouse Road, or in older days it's called the Access Road. It's this land all between the pink and this light yellow is owned by Entergy Corporation also. This is a road that was utilized when they first built the place and still is as the main entranceway the employees take into the plant. It crosses over Rocky Hill Road, which is a public way. This yellow, the highlighted yellow, the bright yellow, is actually gated at either end. They can close gates, restrict access, and at each end it clearly states at different points that no trespassing, proper authorizations needed. Along this road, the pink here, and also along this part, this lighter yellow, there's signs sporadically throughout the area, like on trees, near the trees, no trespassing.
Objection, Your Honor. Content of the sign you just made. We have a picture of the sign. Put it there, that might be different.
I'll sustain the objection.
Your Honor, may I approach the witnesses? Show the counsel.
Sure.
I'm handing you another document. I'll retrieve these. Do you recognize that document, sir?
Yes, I do.
And Sergeant D'Angelo, what is that document?
That's one of the signs that you'll see entering the facility, giving warning, exclusion zone, prohibiting people from going in there that aren't supposed to be there.
Does that sign accurately represent the sign that is, in fact, there at the power plant?
Last I knew, yes.
Okay. Where is that sign in that picture?
That's at the main entrance going into the facility.
Do all the signs that you mentioned before appear to look like that as well?
Not all of them. There are different style signs throughout the area.
From your memory and seeing those signs before, do they all generally say the same thing? You can't be here.
Yeah, can't be here. Along the side of the road it says cannot stop, exclusion zone. It prohibits you from stopping on the pink road that I showed you, that loops Rocky Hill Road. All the way up past the power plant, it says no stopping here. They'll come out and make contact with you if they see your car there too long, stop alongside the road. Even though it's a public road, it's still because of exclusion zone. We still have to address the issue, whether or not is it just a car broken down, or is it something considered a threat, or what? So we still have to send someone out and talk to them if they're there too long.
Okay, sir. Your Honor, the counsel would offer that as exhibit number 2.
Here's an objection.
No objection.
That's exhibit 2. Just to be clear for the record, that particular sign is at the main entrance, as you said, but where is the main entrance located on that map that you were talking about?
The one in which here on that picture, in the main, you consider the actual entrance into the plant, is right at the intersection of Rocky Hill Powerhouse Road. Where Powerhouse comes up from State Road, connects with Rocky Hill Road. Right across the street on the eastern side of Rocky Hill Road is you consider the main entrance into the plant, into the exclusion area, which is really considered a place that they don't want people. One of those areas that they stick to.
Of all the areas that you testified as a means to get into the power plant, do any of the areas have or lack a sign that says no trespassing?
From what I recall, no, they're scattered throughout the area, near the trees, at other entrances down further.
Sir, were you working on March 13, 2013?
Yes, I was working the day shift.
Did you have an opportunity to get down to the power plant that day?
I did.
What time of day was it?
It was just after lunch, so around 1:30.
And when you got down to the power plant, how did you get there?
My cruiser.
And what did you see when you got there?
I saw a number of cars parked on Powerhouse Road, which is owned by the Entity Corporation. I saw a bunch of people in and around the entrance into the plant. And then I met with the officers that were assigned down there or that were already there. Officer Jesse was one of them.
What way did you get into the power plant?
The way that they have us come in is the entrance which you saw in that picture that was entered as evidence.
And the cars that you saw parked on Powerhouse Road, were they occupied by anyone?
I can't recall.
How many cars do you think you saw?
Oh, there was a number of them, probably at least 15, if not more.
As you head down towards where the officers were, who else do you see?
Security personnel for the power plant, management for the power plant. I saw my officers. I saw a bunch of other, what appeared to be civilians, strewn about, some walking up the roadway as I was going in.
And as they're walking up the roadway, which direction are they heading?
When they were walking up, they were headed off the property, headed towards Rocky Hill Road.
Were they all moving in that direction?
No, they were not.
What were the others doing?
There was some lingering back by the actual security checkpoint going into the fenced area.
Okay, can you describe that area to the court?
The fencing is probably at least 10 to 12 feet high. There's a entranceway which is manned by armed security guards. Once you get on the inside, you'll see a couple of what I call pillboxes, the gun towers, which people sit in there with weapons just in case there's a threat. To the right, as you go, is a parking lot, and it loops around over a bridge going further away from the plant. Heading south is another parking lot area that the employees park in.
Okay. That particular area, whose property is it?
Entities.
And I'm confident that this witness know whose property that is.
To lay a little bit of a foundation.
That area that these folks are standing on, do you know what business is there?
Yes, nuclear power plant.
And is there any other business or any other homes or residential area in that particular?
No, there's
perimeter?
not.
And how long has the power plant been in existence?
I can't tell you when it came into existence. It's been there since I was a kid.
In that same location?
Yes.
In that particular area, is anyone else permitted in that area unless they work for the power plant?
No, they're not.
That particular area, is it maintained by the town of Plymouth?
No.
Whom are these Entergy folks that you mentioned that you saw on site?
One, I believe, was a Mr. Daly. I think he does the security there. He's one of the head of security.
Okay. And were there other security personnel from Entergy?
Yes, they were.
Okay. And earlier you testified that you believe this to be Entergy's property. What makes you think that it is?
Knowing the fact that growing up down the street, it's posted everywhere you look. There's a sign telling you private property, do not enter, exclusion zone.
It's already in there.
One sign, that puts it down the street, what's at the gate, we have no objection. What he's testifying to now is beyond that area.
Next question.
The actual power plant itself, how far away from there are you?
From the entrance from Rocky Hill Road?
From the building itself, the facility, all of
Oh, with the people?
Yes.
From the building to the front gate, I'd say it's at least, roughly about, 50 to 60 yards to that outer perimeter gate where the guard shed, the main guard building is. Then you're into the parking lot, which is probably roughly about close to 100 yards from the actual building, from the front building, the support building, I'd say.
So when you arrive on scene, what do you do?
I meet with Officer Jesse, ask him what's the situation, what's been going on, what's said and done.
Okay. And then after you meet with him, you meet with Entergy?
Yes,
Security?
I talked to Mr. Daly.
Okay. What's Mr. Daly doing at that time?
He's standing there waiting for us to take our action.
And what action do you take?
I asked him if he made the announcement in which for the people to leave the property with the trespassing. He said yes.
Objection, Your Honor.
Any objections sustained? I'll strike you.
May I be heard on that, Your Honor?
Sure. Why don't I see everybody over there just a minute?
defense is all here, Your Honor.
All right, Mr. Kelly, I'll hear you.
As to the question, which was, what was the Entergy security staff doing? The answer was, TC told everyone to leave. And I would offer that, not for the truth of the matter is concerned, but for the actual notice, to put them on notice that they were required to leave at that point. I'm not saying, I'm not having the witness offer the testimony saying he actually said it, but just to put the defendants on notice that they were at that point informed that they weren't permitted to stay and they had to leave. So it's not offered for the truth, but for another reason.
No objection to simply ending with the Entergy person told these people to leave. Anything beyond that that has any kind of substantive content, fact content, I would object.
Will you say that?
I think that's sufficient. It's all I'm getting.
All right. Go ahead, Officer Sergeant D'Angelo.
So please tell the court what the Entergy person did at that point.
He made an announcement for the individuals that were on the property to leave. They weren't there as invited guests.
And what did you see happen after that happened?
A number of people started moving back up the roadway towards the entrance to leave the property itself.
And you say numerous. Did everyone leave?
No.
What were the others doing?
There were 5 subjects that remained behind.
Okay. And as a result of them remaining behind, what did you do?
I approached the subjects. I advised them that they could be subject to arrest upon me asking them to leave. And I told them to leave one more time. They refused to leave. I said, you know you're going to be arrested. Yeah, we know. And I ordered their arrest at that point in time for trespassing.
To be clear, who said, yeah, we know, in response to your statement that they
I
would
was
be
talking
arrested?
to a couple at once, so...
Okay. So the folks that remained on scene, the 5 or so remained on scene, said that they understood that they were going to be arrested.
Yes.
They didn't. Okay. And then they were, in fact, arrested?
Yes, they were.
Do you remember the names of those 5? Well, let's limit it to the 4. I've heard it today. Do you remember their names? And if not, I can refresh your name.
I believe it was, I can't pronounce the last name, beginning with an A, AZ something. Is it, which I think there was a Sherman maybe?
You need to keep your voice up too, son.
I'm trying to remember.
If you don't remember, you don't.
I don't remember.
Okay, Your Honor, may I approach with the witness's report?
Yes.
Please take a look at that and highlighted sections towards the bottom with the 4 witnesses. After you've read it.
Okay.
Do you remember who the 4 witnesses were? The defendants were?
The names sound familiar.
Okay. And what are their names?
One's a Michael Risch, Paul Rifkin, Susan Carpenter, and Ellen Dixon.
Okay. May I approach her?
Yes.
Just retrieve you. Now, after they were arrested, what happened next?
They were eventually transported back to the Plymouth Police Department where they were booked on the charges.
What was your involvement with booking?
That day I booked them in.
Okay. And during the booking process, can you explain to the court what you did?
In the booking process, I just take basic biographical information entered into the system. I do a booking complaint sheet with the charges listed on it, and then that goes down to court eventually. Give them the rights to a phone call.
And is there a booking form that's completed when you do this process?
Yes, there is.
And what goes into that form?
Well, there's two forms one that are getting printed out. One's the booking sheet. It's a short sheet, we call it. And it has basically who they are, where they live, their mailing address, name, date of birth, all that. And then it has the arresting officer listed. It has me as the booking officer listed. Then it also has the charges listed on it. Basically for our portfolio and for our shift manager, we always have to see who's in what slot and what cell. He has a sheet and knows what for. So when he calls the bail commission to set that up.
And on this particular day, did you follow all the procedures you normally do?
Yes.
Okay. And would you be able to tell us the 4, if you see those 4 individuals in the courtroom today, if you remember?
Well, I see a bunch of people that I recognize. There's a couple of different dates that were involved too. So
on March 13th, if your memory is exhausted, once again, an approach test.
well, I remember the female in the green shirt. I remember her face. I don't know which date she was there on. The gentleman over here with the glasses and the shirt on the end, hanging from a shirt with the blue collar sticking out. I remember him, his face. Yeah, thank you, sir. Let's see. The orange shirt looks familiar over here with the gray hair. All right. Like I said, I've been involved in a few different instances. So
Okay.
they start blending together to me.
May I approach her?
Yeah.
All right, I'm going to hand you 4 slips there. Those
Okay.
are your booking slips. Can you take a look at those? Spend some time with them. Take as much time as you need. Take a
What
look
I
at
point out in the orange shirt. All right.
And what's her name?
Her name is Susan Carpenter.
And she's the one in the orange
Orange
shirt.
shirt, yep. This one's Elaine Dixon. She's on the red shirt over there, yeah. This is Mr. Paul Rifkin, which is the one man I pointed out. And the gentleman sitting next to him is Michael Risch. Is it Risch, sir?
Rich.
May I retrieve the document?
Yes, sir.
Your Honor, for the record, please reflect that the witnesses identified the defendants arrested on March 13th. There's Michael Risch, Paul Rifkin, Elaine Dixon, and Susan Carpenter.
Yeah.
Of the folks that had left prior to your warning, what happened to them?
They moved back out to the roadway, and most of their vehicles were parked across the roadway on what's known as Powerhouse Road. I proceeded out there because I was going to head back to the station because I got to do the bookings. And then a lot of the cars were there. I also advised them that they need to remove their vehicles from that side of the road because it is Entity's property also. And I said they're going to have to, if they want to continue their rights to protest, they're going to have to stay behind the white lines, but on a public way. Just make sure they're safe. And they can't be on the Entity's property at that point.
Did they do so?
I ended up leaving at that point. Most of them started removing their cars. They're very cooperative when asked.
And, sir, while I have you on the stand, you were also involved in the May 19th incident as well, correct?
I was.
Okay. What was your involvement on that?
Came in that night. A bunch of them had come in for the same reason, trespassing. I had just come on because I usually work evenings. So I came in. They were all coming into the station, which time I assisted in the booking process. That's why a lot of them look familiar.
So you weren't actually, on May 19th, you didn't actually go down to the power plant?
No, I
You
did
just
not.
did the booking process?
I just did the booking process.
Okay. I'm going to have you identify the individuals that were arrested and that you booked on May 19th, and I would like to approach it that way. Now, please take a look through these documents to help refresh your memory. All right. If you could please take your time, go through it, look around the courtroom, and if you can identify the defendants that you, in fact, saw on that day that were arrested, please do so.
All right. I see some here. A couple I can see. And so, I know, I think mostly they don't run. So she had glasses on, too. She had them on. That's really off.
Bill, do you have a question for Simon D'Angelo?
Sir, can you identify any of the individuals that are now standing in the courtroom?
Yes, I can. Like I said, I started pointing some of them out earlier that I booked in. That's why the two dates blend together. I booked her in person, the one with the pink scarf, Mrs. Was it Turco? You're a teacher, right?
Yes.
Yes.
We had a long conversation, didn't we?
Yeah, we did.
You put me in solitary after that.
What's that?
I think you put me in solitary after that.
No, we had no solitary. It was just a regular old cell.
Bread and water.
There's this gentleman here.
What's his name?
Please?
All right. Miss Janet Azarovich, is that how it's pronounced? She's over there. Then we have Mr. Johnson, Mrs. Johnson, excuse me, Joyce Johnson. Mrs. Joyce Johnson right there. Green shirt, sweater, glasses. Then we have Mr. Douglas Long right here with the glasses, right here. And we have Mr. Moyer, William Moyer, over there in the back, light blue shirt. Mrs. Rice Moore, Margaret Rice Moore, she's over there. She had a glass on a few minutes ago, which threw me off. Change your hairstyle too. All right.
Witness protection.
Miss Fema Rosenbaum, right back there. She's one of the first ones I pointed out. Mrs. Sarah Thatcher, back there next door. And then Mrs. Turco, which I identified already.
May I retrieve your
Yes.
Your Honor, the record please reflect that the witness has identified the following defendants as those that were arrested for trespass on May 19th. Diane Turco, Sarah Thatcher, Femma Rosenbaum, Margaret Bryce Moore, William Moore, Douglas Long, Joyce Johnson, and Janet Azarez.
Yes.
Thank you. Sir, at this time, I don't have any further questions. If I may ask for a brief recess, I know the court wants to keep things going along, but I do have that witness issue, and I think I could use the time to also come to a stipulation with counsel as to the matter that we addressed earlier.
Sure, but let's, can we do the cross-examination first?
Of course, yes.
Yes, they're on duty.
Of course.
Commonwealth has graciously agreed not to object to an offer of proof based on judicial notice of the federal statute and regulations that control, through the NRC, the operation of this plant. The Commonwealth is not waiving its argument on that, but it's just will accept that I can put that case in through the judicial notice of if the court is going to make judicial notice.
Okay, I'm happy to hear you on that, but do you have any questions for Sergeant?
Oh, yes, I do. I thought, well, please. Oh, sorry.
That's okay, no, I appreciate it.
We did talk about the stipulation.
And I appreciate the heads up on that. We will deal with that, and thank you, Mr. Hill, for agreeing. But do you have cross-examination?
Yes, I do.
of this witness?
Find my place here. Sergeant, when you arrived at Pilgrim, which way did you proceed?
When I came to the plant, I came from the town area, so I was coming south on Rocky Hill Road. I entered the plant at its main entrance, which will put me going east into the main facility.
Okay, to be clear here, did you leave Route 3A and take a left at the fork onto Rocky Hill Road, or did you leave 3A and turn into Powerhouse Road?
I believe I took Rocky Hill Road coming down.
Now, is it fair to say that on that road there are signs which say no trespassing on the lands on either side of the road?
Yes, there is.
The signs do not say no trespassing on the road itself.
I believe there's a few scattered, and there's one that says no stopping anytime in your vehicle also. It's sporadically through the area.
But traffic is allowed to come and go freely on that road.
Yes.
Now, those signs are not the large blue signs. May I look at the exhibit?
Yes.
And may I approach the witness?
Sure.
You see that these signs that are depicted here in...
Keep your voice up, your co-counsel is asking.
These signs that are depicted here in exhibit number 2 are bright blue and white. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Hard to miss them.
That's correct.
The signs that are on Rocky Hill Road that say no parking are smaller and they're basically black and white. Is that correct?
The typical, like your normal signs you'll see for speed limits, they're about the size of, a little bit bigger than your binder on your desk there, or than a sheet of paper. They're probably about that big, that wide, the size of a monitor screen. And it says exclusion zone, no stopping any time, or no stopping any time. And there's a few sporadically scattered out saying no trespassing. And I believe they're in red and white. And they're reflective.
And those ones that say no trespassing, they're not facing the road like this, they're facing towards the side of the road to say don't go beyond that point into the woods or into the rocks.
I couldn't be sure exactly. Some are different positions.
But
Some
they,
are on
but
poles,
they don't
some are
tell
on
people
trees.
they can't trespass on the road.
No, they do not.
I'd like to show the witness some other photographs at first.
Yeah, just-
Carmel. May I approach the witness again?
Yes.
Thank you. I'd like to show you first two photographs that I ask you if you can identify what they.
It's indicating entity's property, and there's a no trespass sign just to the left, and it looks like Rocky Hill Road right there.
Rocky Hill Road going back to 3A. Is that correct?
Can't be 100% sure, but it does look like that. And it says no trespass on that sign right there.
Right, that's rather a small sign.
Actually, that's actually a pretty decent sign compared to some of the others.
Most of them are not that big.
Yeah, most of them are like the one right above it.
Thank you.
All right?
And what is this photograph you take?
This is coming up Powerhouse Road from State Road 3A, and you're looking directly across at the entrance. So this is Rocky Hill that runs this way through the lights. So everyone out there can see. Rocky Hill runs this way. See the white fence? I don't know if you can see it, but it runs this way. North, south, south, north. Powerhouse is the road comes, you look straight out towards the entrance into the plant. You can't see the plant from here because it's a long driveway and curves off to the left. And once you get around that corner, you'll see a very large fence, a lot of concrete barriers to protect the place, and you'll see a fortified guardhouse.
There's also a guardhouse right there, is there not?
Yes, that's left over from right after 9/11. Right now, it's not maintained, and it wasn't maintained that day either.
And there's two photographs marked as the next.
Yes, is there no objections?
No.
to them?
Map 3 and 4.
Thank you.
Sergeant, I'm going to show you two more photographs and ask if you can identify what is depicted in these.
So this one. That's the entrance. If you look at this one, so flashing yellow light. This is actually State Road running north south right here. This is the entrance that was originally designed for the plant, for the employees to utilize to limit the amount of traffic for the employees on Rocky Hill Road when they first built the facility, and for their trucks to utilize, bring in whatever materials that they're bringing in. From what I understand, they're directed to use this road. It's called Powerhouse Road. It used to be called the Access Road. And if you see right there, there's yellow on either side. It's a gate that you can flip shut to prohibit the access also. And that, you're looking straight out, we kept going down that road, it's about a mile long, maybe a little more, head out towards the power plant. This is the same thing, just a different car. Same view, different thing. Looking from State Road and down the Powerhouse Road.
Let's say the difference between the two is that in the one there was a vehicle on that road,
Yeah,
and the other
there's no vehicle.
no vehicle. Can I have these marked as the next?
Sure, is there any objections?
No
to them?
objection.
Okay.
5 and 6.
Now, this is these two exhibits, exhibits 5 and 6, that show the entrance to Powerhouse Road from Route 3A.
Yes, that's correct.
They say there's no signage, that there are two gates there,
Yes,
which can be closed,
yes.
but there's no signage there such as we see in Exhibit 2, is there?
No, there's not.
In fact, do you recall whether there is signage there that says, watch out for pedestrians?
No,
Do you recall whether there is?
I don't. I never saw one of those before.
Now, you testified that you grew up in this area.
Yes,
Did you ever have occasion, when you were a kid, to go down to the shore there by the plant to fish?
before 9/11, you were allowed to.
So there was free access back and forth, down to the shore.
Down to the shore, there's a park to the left side of the power plant.
And where were these defendants who were arrested with respect to that area that you were allowed to go to before 9/11?
They're on the completely opposite side of the power plant, over by the main entrance, which the other place is on the far side, the left side, northern side of it. And from the shore area we're allowed to go is a lot further away from the building in which they were close to at this point in time. Like I said, back then, there were still fence lines, there were still areas which you were prohibited from entering, and they kept it separate. But after 9/11, they shut the whole area down to ensure the public safety and anyone else entering that shouldn't be there.
Now, you mentioned that the guardhouse that appears
It's in this one of
in Exhibit 4 is no longer staffed.
That it usually isn't staffed anymore. They have another one further back.
And you see a sign right next to the guardhouse that identifies it as entry. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Now, do you know, can you testify today what kind of signage exists on this, Powerhouse Road as you proceed from the entrance shown on Exhibit 5 and 6? Do you know what kind of signage is along that road for the next
Roughly,
quarter
I
mile?
don't know. I can't testify. I very rarely use the road, so I'm not familiar with it.
Do you know whether or not that road is normally open to the public for free access back and forth?
On average, it is open to the public. It's only been a few times where they've shut the gates.
And in your recollection, what has been the reason that the gates have been shut? In your recollection?
Most recently, when they had a strike, they shut the gates to prohibit people from accessing it. When there's been protesters coming, sometimes we'll shut the gates, sometimes they don't. I know after 9/11, they had them shut at one point for a short time too.
Under attention to exhibit number 2. And what does that, did you, in your narrative report, refer to this particular sign that says exclusion area?
I did not refer to that in my report.
And thank you. No further questions.
All right. Anyone else have questions for this witness? Mr. Gillen?
Aside from limiting some of the access areas and putting up that initial security checkpoint, after the September 11th incident, did the power plant take any other measures to increase security?
They took a lot of measures to increase security.
What did they do?
They started at one point, we had the National Guard doing road patrol in that wood line. That off of that road, we had state police there. We were patrolling it. National Guard was patrolling it. They had an actual Humvee that would go up into the wood lines, some old fire roads. Cut anyone in there that were hunting. We got calls quite a bit on the hunting, trespassing, asking people to leave, which almost every time people asked to leave. We had kayaks come along the shoreline that actually enter the zone, which they have these cameras that can pretty much zoom in right on to them. They see them coming from a good distance out. We responded down there, had them leave. We've arrested a few people outside of the protesters in the past that have stumbled into the zone that didn't want to leave. They took a lot of measures over the years. They have a barrier that pops up. So if someone drives towards it, they have a barrier that will come out of the ground, prevent it from proceeding further in. They put up huge concrete barriers. They have towers all over the place, which men with armed officers for the power plant security. Again, there's numerous amounts of stuff that go in there. And we've also, part of it, have been brought on tours as a police department to the facility, so if we have to respond, we know exactly what's there and what's available. Inside, they have other, I can't get into it, but they have other measures in the interior of the plant to help with the security also, that we're shown as we go through our tour. So if we have to go in, if we're brought in to assist with repelling a force, we know what to expect.
Which force are you talking about? Which department goes down to the tours?
The Plymouth Police Department will go in for a tour every couple of years. I've been since 9/11. I've been going probably every 2 years. We'll go through a tour, go for a briefing there.
Any questions?
Just one on recross. Regarding this, what is it, a cooperative program between Entergy Security and the Plymouth Police Department, is that what you're describing?
I don't know the exact name of the program, what they have protocols, but we are brought in to do a tour of the place, and we get a gist of what they would do if something was to happen, and what our responses would go over a couple of years.
Was any part of that training or, cooperative instruction related to stifling free speech among people who are peaceably assembled on the property?
Not that I recall.
Thank you.
All right, thank you, Sergeant. You're all set, sir.
May I ask for that recess?
Yes, how much time do you need?
Recess 15 minutes.
I'm going to say we'll reconvene back here at 12 o'clock. Mr. Gillum, did you ever have time to resolve any issues that you had with?
They're resolved, I wouldn't say to my benefit, but I have no further witnesses to offer today. We'll be resting on the evidence that I have submitted thus far. I can't get anyone else down here.
Can I see everybody inside, please? All right, Mr. Killen, you have a witness who is necessary, who is not here.
That's right.
I will give you until tomorrow to get that witness here. The defendants have been kind enough to say that they have no objection to taking that witness out of order, so we can at least use the court's time today to proceed with this case. So that's what we'll do. We will let the defense begin to present its case and allow you to call it one witness, right?
That's correct.
One witness tomorrow. Is that fair representation of what we said over here at Side
It is, Your Honor.
Okay. All right. So,
Have Lane Dickinson, please.
Raise your right hand. You solemnly swear that the testimony to give the court is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you.
I do.
Thank you, baby. Seat.
or you can stand if you want. Stand Go ahead.
Thank you. Ms. Dickinson, could you please tell the court your name and your age, please?
Elaine Dickinson.
64.
You ever been known as Ellen or Emily or Dixon?
No, sir.
Known by any other name?
Just my maiden name before I married.
And marital status, what is your marital status?
I'm married
Where do you live?
in Harwich.
How long have you lived there?
I think about 18, 19 years.
Do you have any children?
I have 2.
And where do they live?
One lives in Boston and one lives in San Rafael, California.
Are you currently working?
No.
Did you work prior to this?
Yes, I
What did you do?
worked 32 years as a school teacher and I retired in 2010.
Where did you work?
Half of my career was in Weymouth, Massachusetts, and the later half was in Orleans, Massachusetts.
What grades did you teach?
Junior high, middle school, and some high school.
And have you worked at all since you retired?
I work part-time at a friend's motel in the summer.
Not currently working now.
No.
I'm going to direct your attention to March 13th of 2013. And on that date, did you go to the Pilgrim nuclear power plant?
Yes, sir.
Why did you go there?
To help raise awareness to what I considered at the time imminent danger of a nuclear power plant, to people who lived in the area, and predominantly where I come from on Cape Cod, because there is no plan for us in the event that there's some kind of a nuclear disaster. And that old plant that's had so many problems and shutdowns, it was very scary. Very scary.
And how did you come to an understanding that the plant was an imminent danger?
In my retirement, I started paying attention to a lot of issues that previously I hadn't. And it became very apparent from some of the people right in my own town that this plant...
We're going to strike that. Next question, please.
What did you hope to accomplish by going to the plant on March 13th?
To raise awareness among the people in the area, the people who work at the Entergy plant, perhaps get some newspaper coverage to educate other people who weren't present that day to the issues, and to hopefully lead to it being shut down.
And why were you doing that?
Out of an act of conscience.
Had you tried other things prior to this
Yes.
to get the plant shut down?
Yes, I have.
What sort of things?
I've worked with the group on the Cape to have petitions signed to get questions on the ballots of all 15 towns, to address the issue that the Entergy plant does not live up to the mandates of the Nuclear Regulatory Commission to keep people safe, and that a message would be sent to our governor, the head of our state, to help us in that cause by writing to the NRC and informing them that they're not living up to their own mandate.
What had happened as a result of those other actions that you had taken, if anything?
Newspaper coverage, more people finding out about it, legislators in our area, and even a week ago Monday, getting all the way to the State House and the governor agreeing to write the letter, which I believe he's writing today.
Had you been successful in getting the plant shut down?
Not yet.
So when you went to, on March 13th, 2013, tell us what you did on that day at the plant.
Well, we parked the car on Power Road, and we're going to protest along Rocky Hill Road. But lo and behold, the gates were open, there was no one in a guardhouse, and it really was very upsetting to most of us that this plant was just wide open. So in order for the people who run the plant to hear us, we had to approach a little closer. And all we had were signs, no weapons,
What did you want the people in the plant to hear?
That it's not safe. It's not safe for the people who work there. It's not safe for the people in the area. Shut it down.
What did you do then, after you walked through the gate?
Well, we walked a little further, and we're thinking, wow, this is really not very comforting that we could walk so far without being stopped. Finally, some looked like men in uniforms that came from inside the plant with big guns came out in some kind of a vehicle and blocked the road and told us to stop. Well, we did.
What did you do then?
Well, then some police arrived, and we were told to leave. And most of the group did. 5 of us chose not to.
Why did you choose not to leave?
Again, it was an act of conscience to make a statement that hopefully would raise other people's awareness to the danger of the plant.
Did you think not leaving on that day would lead to any further action in closing the plant?
That was our hope, my hope.
Since that time, have you seen, since the time that you took that action, have you seen any movement toward the plant being closed?
Well, I know that it's on an NRC, I believe it's on an NRC watch for, because of problems that have increased since that time. And
Director, we'll just strike that.
I'll straighten it.
Have you seen any reaction to the fact of your demonstration on March 13th and the actions that you took that day? Any further demonstration among the public or anybody else?
yes.
What have you seen?
Well, there was a hearing in Boston at the State House. That would have been last fall. It was where the former chairman of the former Prime Minister Khan from Japan, who had been the chairman, who had been the president at Prime Minister during the time of the Fukushima event. He spoke. Gregory Jasko, former chair of the NRC, spoke. Peter Bradford spoke. I believe there were a few others. Dan Wolf was there, all speaking about the dangers of nuclear plants, especially those that are the Mark 2, 3, 1 boiling water reactors, GE1, like the one at Pilgrim, which is identical to the one that was in Fukushima. The dangers there, it had one bad day. It was an earthquake and a tsunami, but it was lack of electricity that actually shut that down and caused the meltdown. And I've also learned through things that I've read, accounts of a ship, U.S. Navy ship that was in the area called for rescue, the USS Ronald Reagan.
And I'm going to strike that as well.
What is your understanding of what would happen to your town and to you if there was a Fukushima-type accident at the energy plant?
System. Means you can't.
What is your view as to how effective you've been in raising awareness and getting the plant down? Shut down.
I'm going over that. You can answer that. Can you remember the question?
How effective?
What is your view about how effective you've been through these actions you've taken in getting the plant shut down?
I feel very effective through our actions, not just mine, but a group of other brave Americans, okay? In this day and age where big corporations seem to run the country, it's a time for little people like us to make a stand. And I think it's the only way that our democracy is going to live. With people like us, old people, retired people, who are in the trenches. My own daughter said, "Thank God you're doing this, Ma, because I don't have time. I got to work, keep my job." And it's the same thing with other young people, working 1, 2, 3 jobs just to keep things going. Or they can't work. They don't have jobs. And they're discouraged and depressed. It's depressing today, very depressing in this country, to see what's going on with the corporations and the big money and the lobbyists. They're taking over. We have voted on our communities. We have all voted. We don't want this plant. It's dangerous to us. It's dangerous to the lives and the land that we love on beautiful Cape Cod and the beautiful place here in Plymouth. When we look at the pictures around Chernobyl and around Fukushima, it's just devastating to think that that could happen here with just one bad day. That's all it takes.
Do you believe you were committing a crime?
I believe entities committed the crime.
Okay, the objection sustained, I'll strike the answer.
There's no further questions. Thank you.
Mr. Kilk, means you have to stay. Prosecutor can ask you some questions.
Good afternoon, ma'am. Would you consider yourself a member of the Cape Cod Downwinders?
Yes, sir.
Is that a Falmouth-based or group or organization?
I don't believe it's based in Falmouth.
Where is it based?
Cape Cod.
Cape Cod generally? What's the name Downwinders? Where is that?
We are downwind of the plant, so that if an accident happens, 50% of the time we're downwind, we're going to get a plume.
Okay. So as a result of your concerns, you and the group, the Downwinders, went to the plant to deliver a letter?
Not on this occasion, no.
On this occasion, when you went onto the property, what were you planning to do?
We weren't planning to go on the property until we realized that the gate was open and there was no guard in there and it was just wide open. We were going to protest in front of the plant to close the plant down.
Prior to the March 13th incident where you were arrested for trespass, had you and the group been meeting collectively as a whole?
We have meetings, yes.
It's bi-weekly you guys meet, right? And you have a website?
Yes.
And you have a blog?
I don't have a blog.
Okay, this is the group, I'm sorry.
I think somebody in the group has a blog, but I haven't seen it.
Okay. You mentioned earlier that Dan Wolf came and, Senator Dan Wolf came and spoke somewhere. Where was that?
Oh, he spoke in many places concerning the Pilgrim nuclear power plant, but I can't remember the date, but it was an event at the State House in Boston.
Was that before or after March 13th?
I think that was after.
On the March 13th date, where were you when you first encountered the entry security?
Oh, we were well in there, just about to the parking lot, the first parking lot, I would say.
Fair to say that you were about a quarter of a mile into the property?
Maybe like 100 feet or something, I don't know. I've not been a judge of distances.
Fair to say you saw the signs along the way that marked that it's Entergy's property and that you couldn't be there?
I've been by there since, and I know that there are signs there, but that day I really didn't notice any.
And when the police officers from Plymouth Police Department came down and told you to leave, you chose not to leave, correct?
That's right.
You were told that you were trespassing, correct?
I was told that, yes.
And you were told that if you did not leave, you would be arrested, isn't that right? And in response to that, you stayed, correct?
An act of conscience, I stayed, yes.
It was your intent to trespass, right?
Not the day that we went there, no. It was wide open. We ended up walking on there.
It was
like a welcome sign.
It was your decision to stay there when you
Yes, it was my decision. It was my act of conscience.
And who else was with you at that point, if you know?
Susan Carpenter, Paul Rifkin, Michael Risch, and one young man who is no longer with us here in court as defendants.
And just to be clear, you went down Powerhouse Road?
We parked there.
Parked there. What way did you walk down?
Right into the plant, right through the gate, where there was a gate, but the gate was open, where there's a guardhouse, but nobody in it.
At that point, were you carrying signs?
I think so. I can't remember at that particular moment, but there were people with us who had signs.
Part of the Cape Cod Downwinders?
And others, too.
What was the gist of the signs?
Shut down the plant, no more Fukushimas, things like that.
where did you initially intend to congregate when you first got the plant?
Well, we had no idea that the thing would be wide open. We were going to protest in front of it,
Where in front of it?
on the Rocky Hill Road.
And then after realizing that it was accessible, you continued on down to see about as far as down you could get.
Hopefully, somebody would hear our message in there, yes.
And what was the message at that point?
This plant is dangerous. It needs to be shut down.
And yet you continue to walk towards it.
Yes.
And to the best of your knowledge, that plant is still in operation today?
I don't know if this is the day it's shut down or not. I know it has frequent shutdowns.
No, I mean, it continues to persist. It continues to be in operation. Not necessarily continuously, but it still stands to this day, correct?
It still stands, yes.
Okay. Prior to that March 13th date, what actions have you personally taken to make your message known to entities?
I was part of the group that tried to deliver a letter. We had other letter writing, people writing letters. I had one published in the Cape Cod Times. Going to different groups and speaking, educating. I don't remember specific dates and things. Okay, I think that conference in Boston was after the arrest.
What was the conversation going on as you all were walking down towards the power plant?
The conversation?
Yeah, between you and the few
I
others.
think we may have been singing.
What were you saying?
This land is our land, this land is your land, this land is not Entergy's land, things like that.
And do you know whose land it is?
Well, I believe the company, the corporation of Entergy owns the land.
I have no further questions.
Okay.
Nothing further, Your Honor.
All right, you can step down. Thank you very much.
The defendant next called defendant Janet Gervais.
Please raise your right hand. You solemnly swear that the testimony to give the court is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God. Thank you, Mavis.
Will you please state your full name for the record?
Yes, Janet Azarovitz.
And what is your address?
I live 20 Shackwood Bar Circle, West Falmouth, on the Cape.
How old are you?
I'm 72 years old.
What is your background in terms of family?
I have 2 children. We moved to Falmouth in 1977. I now have 4 grandchildren, 2 of whom live down the road from me, closer to the nuclear power plant than I do. And the other 2 actually attend school within the shadow of the Seabrook power plant.
Does that part of your family come to visit you sometimes on the Cape?
Yes, a lot.
And
not enough. But
what has been their experience in using the bridges to get off the Cape?
oh, it's just as almost any other person who's trying to leave the Cape on a Sunday afternoon. It's almost impossible without having traffic blocked and hard to get over the bridge.
Now, what is your background in terms of what kind of life's work that you done?
I have a degree in a science degree, biology, but I've spent most of my adult life working with children, education, volunteering, different schools in New Jersey and in Massachusetts.
Do you recall the events of May 19, 2013?
Yes, I do.
And do you recall where you were on that day?
I went with a group of other concerned citizens to demonstrate, but to deliver a letter to the resident vice president of the plant.
What plant is that?
Pilgrim Nuclear Power Plant in Plymouth. Parked the car, crossed Route 3A, and tried to approach the gates. It was...
May I approach?
Yes.
I want to show you a photograph, and ask if you can tell us what that photograph depicts.
And that's the intersection of Route 3A and Powerhouse Road.
Okay, and with respect to this photograph, can you tell us where your car would be when you parked it?
Well, I parked across the street on one of the residential
So it would
streets
be
across.
behind the viewer on this street?
Yes.
And that would then across Route 3A from the
Yes.
road. Now, how far down Powerhouse Road have you proceeded?
We passed the concrete stanchion that said it was Entergy and approached the gate, which was at that time closed because I think they knew that we were going to be there. And so we went up to the gate.
And then what happened?
There were some folks voicing their concerns about the plant. There was a demonstration, just really, again, voicing their concerns about the plant. There were security guards from Entergy there, as well as Plymouth policemen.
Now, what signage, if any, similar to the one shown here in Exhibit 2, did you see at that entrance?
None, nothing similar to that.
Had you proceeded on other occasions down Powerhouse Road?
Yeah, absolutely. That morning, before it was time to assemble, we drove down Powerhouse Road and back, and saw no signs.
And what signs facing the traveler were there to say no trespassing?
I don't remember the exact wording, but it was, they were parallel to the road and, so that we wouldn't enter the property, the woods behind it. And then there was a large sign that said no, or watch pedestrians. That was the most obvious sign
And what
we saw.
What did that sign about pedestrians lead you to believe about the use of that road?
That there might usually be pedestrians on the road.
Tell us, what was your purpose of being on Powerhouse Road that night?
Well, it was a combination of frustration because I had personally tried many different ways to reach the folks in charge. I'd written letters to NRC, I'd written a letter to the vice president and the resident CEO at Pilgrim. I wrote to some legislators. What had happened in the year prior, because
let me just get back to those letters that you wrote. What was your purpose in writing those letters?
just to raise public awareness about the concerns that everyone should have about the plant.
What concerns were those specifically?
Well, specifically, there is no viable evacuation plan, though we've been told for years that there is.
I'm going to strike on the objection system.
What were your general concerns, without saying specifically any specific facts?
Just having read this, 36 pages of shutdowns, scrams, obvious events that...
I'm going to stop you there. I'm going to strike that. Listen to your lawyer's question and answer just that question.
No, no, it may be heard sidebar.
Sure.
About the safety of that plant that caused you to enter onto that property on May 19, 2013.
I believe that it was unsafe through knowing that there were shutdowns and that as each and every day went by, it became more of a danger. It's overaged. It was planned for existence for 40 years, and it was relicensed through many objections of scientists and even the...
I'll strike that portion. You can focus on what your beliefs are, or what they were at the time.
I believe that it's unsafe. I've taken part in discussion as a citizen with the community Barnstable County Regional Emergency Planning Commission, and have heard them say that there's no way that we can get over the bridge.
I guess what your lawyer's asking you is what your belief is, not why you hold that belief. Okay? Next question.
What was your belief, if any, as to the security of people on Cape Cod in the event of some kind of major nuclear event at Pilgrim?
I'll sustain.
Did you have such a belief? Yes or no?
Yes, I had. Yes, I did. I do.
Having that belief, did that cause you any concern? Yes or no?
Yes, it did, and it still does.
What relationship did that concern have with your being present on the Powerhouse Road on May 19, 2013?
I felt that perhaps I could affect some kind of a change.
And what means did you choose to affect such a change?
I had written letters, I attended meetings, I tried to reach out and, help gather voters and petition to have them be able to vote, to be able to ask for some assurance of safety.
And what means did you choose on May 19, 2013 to affect such change?
I went with a group to try to deliver a letter to the officials at the Pilgrim Power Plant.
What was the gist of the letter? Without quoting it, but what was the gist of it?
That we were concerned about our health and safety and the assurance of such a mandate that the NRC is supposed to uphold.
And how successful were you in getting that letter delivered?
We were not. They wouldn't accept it.
Who wouldn't accept it?
Well, the folks at the gate, I assume that they were all security guards representing energy.
And what other efforts were made at that time that you can recall to get that letter delivered?
I believe it was mailed, the U.S. Post.
Did anyone else try to deliver the letter other than your group?
Not that I'm aware
of. What had been the result from your prior efforts to writing letters to people and attending meetings and so forth before May 19, 2013? What had been the effective results of that activity?
Well, great awareness grew. There was, more coverage by the newspapers.
No, I'm talking about before. Your prior letters.
There was a growth. There was a growing awareness. We didn't, we had a vote of 14 of the 15 towns on the Cape, which was not acknowledged by the governor. So it was, a growing frustration in that respect.
What effect had those votes had on the local political class, to your knowledge, prior to May 19th, 2013?
I don't know what you mean by political class. I would
Representatives, governors.
Well, they too were becoming more aware of our concerns.
I'm going to strike them.
What tangible, specific event can you attribute to the fact of your being arrested on May 19th and the subsequent developments of this case?
I'm sorry, repeat the question.
What specific events can you attribute, or do you attribute, to your being arrested in this case on May 19th, 2013? You and the group.
Again, more and more citizens are aware of the dangers of the plant, and we've grown in numbers that the governor has finally respected our vote, which is the only way we can voice.
In that form, I'll strike it. Go ahead and try again, Council.
Are you aware of any specific incidents in which the governor has been involved with the Cape Town?
Not directly. That was
Any meetings?
no meetings. We met with his staff. We met with a couple of subcommittees, and they said that was it.
Was this as a result of your events of May 19th, 2013?
Well, because of my interests and my concern and involvement.
Before May 19th, 2013, what success, if any, had you in getting the attention of anyone in the governor's office?
Not much. Not even our vote.
What changes, if any, have occurred since then?
Well, we asked for him to acknowledge the votes of the over 16,000 people on the Cape that were asking him to exercise his mandate to assure our safety by writing to the NRC.
What did you do on Powerhouse Road on May 19, 2013, other than assembling together with a group of concerned citizens and expressing that concern? What did you do on that day?
On that day, nothing.
Thank you. No further questions.
Okay, Mr. Dillon?
You're aware that in May of 2012, the NRC renewed the Pilgrim nuclear operating license, correct?
Yes.
And you're also aware of the March 9, 2013 Falmouth rally and protest held by the Cape Cod Downwinners, right?
March 10th?
Right, Fifth Falmouth protest and rally.
Not aware of March 10th.
And you're familiar, obviously, with the May 19th rally at the reactor, which was scheduled for 1 p.m. at the power plant, because you were there, right?
Yes.
In fact, that was planned, correct? To go to
Yes.
that location?
Mm-hmm.
All right, and I'm going to approach you with a piece of paper there. Do you, if you can, do you recognize that
Yes.
scene there? And what is that scene?
It's looking at friends who had been arrested.
Okay, from
beyond
on
the
May
date.
19th.
Yeah, on May 19th.
And if I get this wrong, please correct me, but that's Douglas Long all the way to the left, correct?
Mhm.
And the second one, she's not a party to the matter?
She was arrested, but she has,
Unrelated now. And then Joyce Johnson is the next one in?
uh-huh,
And then Mrs. Sarah Thatcher is the next one over?
yes,
And then Mrs. Diane Turco is the next one over to the right?
yes.
And do you recognize anyone else in there that's a party to the matter today?
Not, I think I see Bill Maurer.
When, in the timeline of the events on March, actually May 19th, was that photograph captured?
That was, I think by that time I was standing next to Doug being blocked by the officer. We were arrested for trespass.
Okay, after that picture was taken?
Before.
Before that picture was taken, okay.
There, yeah.
And can you describe how you got to the location where those zip ties were eventually put on?
Yeah, I parked on the road. I can't remember the name of the residential street across from the power plant entrance, across from 3A, perpendicular to 3A.
And then after you park, get out of your car, and you just walk straight down?
Basically, I mean, there was an assembly, there were some talks.
Who spoke at that point?
Senator Dan Wolf did.
And,
Other concerned citizens, residents of the Cape and Plymouth.
and Mr. Tom Nielsen was present, and he was singing songs.
Yes.
And there was a poet there, and she was reciting poems for the crowd.
Yeah.
And there were folks walking around with their signs and yelling out in furtherance of the cause. Right?
Mm-hmm.
And it was organized and rehearsed to the extent that everyone showed up around 1 p.m. as planned.
Yeah.
And then at some point, a few of you broke off from the rest of the crowd. What happens when you break off from the rest of the crowd?
Well, I made the decision at that time that because I feel very strongly about my beliefs,
Sure.
that I would approach the gate and cross with the others in order to deliver the letter.
When you did approach the gate to cross, you were doing it with the intent to trespass, right?
I knew that I would be. Yeah, I was told that if I went beyond a certain point, I could be arrested for trespass.
You were told by either the security from Entergy or the police department,
Yeah.
or both. And despite that, you and the rest of the group, knowing that you'd be arrested, you proceeded to trespass.
Yeah, I felt that I would take that risk. I felt strongly about my beliefs.
You agree with me that prior to trespassing, you'd already gained the attention of the security and the police department. They'd already responded to your peaceful gathering without trespassing, right?
Well, yes.
And may I approach again your phone? I offer that exhibit number 3. The photo you guys have.
More than 3, but no, there is.
7.
Is there any objection?
No objection.
And may I approach 1 second? Ma'am, I'm handing you another piece of paper there. Do you recognize that one?
Yes.
And what is that?
It's more or less an announcement.
Well, what do you mean by an announcement?
It was posted and sent by email to members of Cape Cod County leaders,
And what is the announcement?
saying that there's going to be a rally at the gates of the Silver Nuclear Power Plant,
When was that announcement made?
probably days before.
That announcement, does that fairly and accurately reflect the announcement as you saw it days before
Yeah.
the trespass on May 19th? I'd offer that as council exhibit number 8. 8.
Is there any objection?
No objection.
Okay,
On March 10, 2014, there was a Wake Up the Governor rally, correct?
Yes.
Tell us about that.
That was an exciting day. We had planned to go to the State House and had hoped to talk to the governor about the letters from each of the town clerks of the 15 towns on the Cape to show that we had voted, to ask him and for him to acknowledge the fact that we voted by ballot and town meeting.
Would you tell the court who we are, who are the folks that actually went?
A lot of the folks were Cape downwinders.
Those that are privy to the hearing today that are defendants?
Yeah. But there were about 45 of us on a bus that included other residents of the Cape that had become more aware of the dangers that face us.
As a result of going to see the governor and presenting your position, did he indicate that he'd take any action?
It took a long time for him to indicate that. I would say he acquiesced to our demands because we refused to leave his office until he would at least acknowledge our vote.
What was his acknowledgement?
He called one of our leaders into the office, and I think that she had to walk behind him as he raced around getting ready to go to the airport. He finally said, yes, I will sign the letter to the NRC.
Were any of these residents of the 15 towns, were they the ones that sent a letter back in October of 2012 to sue Entergy and the state and federal governments?
Some, I would say just a couple.
That letter has been sent, but no one has, in fact, sued either Entergy or the state and federal government since October of 2012, correct?
There have been petitions made. I don't know that anyone has sued to that extent.
About the same time period, October of 2012, many residents notified the Massachusetts Department of Environmental Protection that they intended to sue the Mass DEP, isn't that correct? With respect to the power plant matter.
Definitely in respect to the power plant, because they've been running for 18 years without a license.
And yet, to this date, since October of 2012, nobody has followed up on that letter of intent to sue Mass DEP either, correct?
This witness is not competent to testify as to whether
If she knows.
anybody testified.
If she knows, and I understand where the Commonwealth's going with this. Do you know the answer to that?
I'm not really aware. I wouldn't want to say.
I appreciate that. If you don't know, you know. Thank you. If I may have one brief moment.
Sure.
This letter that you attempted to deliver on May 19, 2013, who was holding the letter?
Diane Turkle.
And what efforts did she make to deliver the letter, if you saw?
Well, she asked if they would accept the letter from us as citizens.
Where was she when she asked if they would accept it?
At the gate.
So she was asking the security personnel?
Yeah.
And how many people were there at that time at the gate?
At the gate.
Yes.
It's hard. I'm very poor at judging numbers, but there were, I would say, almost 100 people on the other side of the gate.
Being Cape Cod Downwinders and other supporters?
Residents, citizens, yes.
Okay. And approximately how many security and police personnel?
I would say that there were probably a dozen between security and police.
After everybody was arrested, fair to say that everyone was pleased with the outcome from the Cape Cod Islanders?
Well, not really, because they wouldn't accept the letter. And there were those of us that were arrested and taken to jail.
The folks in the photograph of it is exhibit number 7. It's fair to say that they're smiling after they've been arrested and standing in joy.
Yeah.
I have no further questions.
Okay.
You redirect. Just to clarify, Janet, do you know on your own knowledge whether or not any party has sued Entergy or the state or federal government concerning Pilgrim? Do you know, yes or no, on your own knowledge?
I don't know, when you use the word sue, I know that we've been plaintiffs. So, no, not actually.
Just I want to clarify that. I want to show you, may I approach your Honor?
Yes.
May I approach your Honor? You were asked about a letter being delivered cross-examination. Do you recognize this document?
Yes.
And what is that, a copy or the original?
Original.
Thank you. Is this a letter that you wanted to deliver?
Yeah.
And does this letter state the concerns that you had that caused you to gather together at the Powerhouse Road on May 19th of last
Yes,
year?
yeah, definitely.
May I have this marked as an exhibit?
Any objection?
I'd object as to the contents, but I wouldn't object to it coming in as being the letter that was intended to be
Okay, so you
offered.
just don't want me to read it?
Exhibit next.
Yeah. You want to see it for the date?
Yes.
I don't understand the objection to the content of the letter, actually.
Do you want to read it, Mr. Jones?
Yes, as a matter of law, hearsay is an out-of-court statement offered for the truth of the matter asserted. For the content of the matter to come in for the truth of the matter asserted, it is, in fact, hearsay, and therefore inadmissible unless it comes into some other exception, which I don't think there is.
And I submit that it's not coming in for the truth of the matters asserted, other than the assertion that these are concerns shared by the authors of the letter to Entergy Corporation.
And I have no problem with it coming in for that purpose.
Thank you.
This Exhibit 8 is a poster that the government has put in into evidence. To what extent does this exhibit state the concerns that you and your fellows shared when you met at Powerhouse Road on May 19th of last year?
Well, it asked what we want to happen to help us close Pilgrim.
And to what extent does it share the concerns that you had about that?
Just that, actually.
Thank you. Would you read the second red line below the picture?
Okay. Pilgrim is an accident waiting to happen. And actually, the photograph in the middle is a grave concern because a plane can fly over the plant unrestricted.
Objection to the balance of the
I'll strike that.
And this exhibit 7, can you tell us what was going on here? I mean, it looks like people are characterized as laughing. Can you tell whether they were laughing or singing? Do you recall?
Actually, we were singing.
Do you recall what you were singing?
We were happy.
Well, what were you singing? Do you recall?
No, I don't.
But you were singing.
Yeah.
Thank you. Let's let it go.
Sorry, Ben, you're all set. You can step down. All right, this is probably a good time to break. What do we have on tap for this afternoon?
I suspect we will present 3 additional defense witnesses today, whatever time that takes us to. And then, as I indicated to the court at sidebar, we expect 2 of our experts tomorrow and another 4 or 5 of the defendants, and then on Thursday 2 more experts, the last of the defendants who will testify, and the 2 experts on Friday, and that will be the defendant's case.
Mr. Cohen, we make every effort for your witness to be here tomorrow. All right, we'll see everyone in 2 weeks.
Thank you.
All right.
Witness?
Thank you.
Ms. Wright, in the work, please.
Where's this page, please? I'll show it in a second. Just watch the 7 minutes doing the face of the clerk.
Please raise your right hand. You do solemnly swear that the testimony to give the court is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God.
Good afternoon. Would you please state your name and spell your last name for the court?
My name is Margaret Rice Moyer, R-I-C-E, new word, capital M-O-I-R.
And where do you reside, Miss? Do you prefer Rice Moyer or Moyer?
Only Rice Moyer.
Only Rice Moyer. Miss Rice Moyer, where do you reside?
In Brewster,
And who do you reside there with?
my husband Robert.
And are you currently employed?
I'm retired.
And what are you retired from?
I'm retired from teaching special needs babies.
And how many years did you teach special needs babies?
35.
Do you have any children of your own?
I do.
How many?
2.
Tell us just a little bit about them.
I have a son who is 25, and I have a daughter who is 28, and I have a grandson who is 4.
You have any concerns about the Pilgrim nuclear power plant?
Do I have any concerns
That's my
about
question.
I have a great deal of concerns about the Pilgrim nuclear power plant. Shall I tell you when they started?
Well, I'm wait for you.
Wait for a question, if you don't mind. So I'm curious, A, if you would tell the court what your concerns are relative to the nuclear power plant.
I'm desperately afraid of something happening at the plant that would challenge my health and the health of my children and the people I love, as well as all of the people on the Cape. I'm also desperately afraid if something were to happen at the plant, more than what's happening already, that the economic stability of Cape Cod would be severely compromised, as I believe is happening already. And I'm also very, very afraid, if something should happen at the plant, that my real estate values would be rendered, zero.
So it's fair to say that you have concerns both about the plant as it exists today and about the plant as might affect you in the future.
Absolutely.
Okay, I'm concerned specifically at the moment about your concerns today. What are your concerns about your health and safety, as I heard you say, relative to the plant today?
Well, my concerns are that I see this as a clear and present danger, a severe health hazard for me, for my progeny, and for those of us who live on the Cape. I have further concerns that all of the avenues that I have attempted to utilize to make my concerns known have not yielded the kinds of results I had hoped that they would yield.
So let's break that down into two parts. One is the nature of your specific concerns, and the second is the question of the effect of any actions you've taken to date have had. The concerns that you have about the plant today, what informs this? How do you come to these feelings, beliefs, concerns?
Well, could I start back a little bit?
You can start wherever it makes sense for you to answer that question.
So in 1980, I came to the Cape for a weekend, and I heard people speak who were called hibakusha. Hibakusha are survivors of Hiroshima and Nagasaki. And
Could I just remind you, for expediency's sake,
well,
if you not say what they said, that you heard them, that it informed you?
I heard them, and it made an incredible impression on me, and this was a long time ago. And then I moved here to the Cape 5 years ago, and I had been waiting for retirement to move here. I couldn't wait to be in this pristine, wonderful place that had so many happy memories. And almost as soon as I moved here, I went to a lecture in which I heard somebody from Cape Downwinders talking about the dangers of the Plymouth plant. And I knew that when I heard his informed analysis of what was going into the air and what the problems had been in the past and continue to be at Pilgrim, I knew that this was where my heart had to be.
All right, Mr. Eisenberger, I see that you have some notes there in front of you. I'm going to ask that you not refer to those notes. No, that's fine, but you can just put it there. Thank you very much.
Have you heard any other speakers that have informed your concerns relative to the safety of the nuclear power plant?
Yes.
Would you indicate to the court who
they
are?
I heard Senator Wolf speak. I heard Sarah Peake speak. I heard David Agnew speak. I heard Diane speak early on.
Did you ever attend any speech by Dr. Helen Caldicott?
I heard Helen Caldicott speak. I heard the former Prime Minister of Japan speak last spring about what his experience was. He was the Prime Minister at the time Fukushima happened and how it changed his life. That was powerful. I heard Mr. Jasko, the former chair of the Nuclear Regulatory Commission, speak. And I heard several scientists speak at that time.
Do you know from your personal experience what Mr. Jasko's vote was on the relicensing
I do.
plan? And
I
what
do.
was that?
He voted not to relicense Pilgrim.
Did you, as a result of these concerns that you have, discuss the matter with officials in the town that you live in?
I did. I first had a program at the library in which all officials were invited, in which Senator Wolf spoke, and there was a crowd. Then I spoke at a town meeting in which there was a very healthy discussion, and after which the vote was to ask that the governor tell NRC to shut down the plant. So that was successful. And I also went to the health department. And in the process of going to the health department and asking for my KI pills, I had a moment of Alice in Wonderland. Like, what am I doing getting 2 pills to take? If the plant goes, what difference does it make if I cover one little piece? And my children have one little piece of cancer covered. I thought it was crazy, and it made me wild.
Would you please tell us what KI pills are?
Well, I'm not a scientist. They're pills that we are encouraged to get from our towns to take in the event of a nuclear disaster at the power plant, and they ostensibly provide protection for one small type of cancer, which I believe is thyroid cancer, which does impact babies and children far more than adults.
And do you know if these pills are available free of charge from the towns to residents on the Cape?
They should be, but people don't know about them, and I think that many people don't know about them, and I think many people kind of think it's a little bit of a joke.
Okay, always
I'll strike all of that.
understood what other people think. May I approach the witness, Your Honor?
Yes.
Absolutely. Ms. Rice-Moyer, I'm showing you what appears to be a pill packet. You recognize that pill packet?
It's mine.
Can you indicate to the court what that is?
These are the pills that I got at the health department for myself and my husband should there be an accident.
All right, can you read what it says on the pill container?
Iosat, 130 milligrams KI tablet.
And you don't know what the K and the I stand for?
Sodium iodine.
May I have this much?
Yes, there's no objection.
No. Is it?
Did you ever see this book that I'm holding up here?
I've seen it.
And do you know what it is?
I believe it's a manual that has all of the documents pertinent to the nuclear power station, perhaps whatever evacuation plans are included. I haven't read it.
You know that it says emergency plan evacuation time estimates?
Okay. And I've seen excerpts from it. I've seen excerpts from it that we've had on posters.
Literal excerpts from this book. What do you understand are the evacuation plans from the Cape in the event of a nuclear accident at Pilgrim?
My understanding is there are none.
How can that be?
Ask them. I don't know. I think that's part of the problem. There is talk about how to get animals.
Okay, I'm going to stop you right there, and I'll strike that.
Do you know what the emergency plan is relative to the bridges on the Cape?
Close the bridges.
Do you know what the phrase shelter in place means?
I do.
And what does that mean?
It means that we would be required to stay on the Cape, presumably in our homes, perhaps in a high school, I don't know. But I do know that that radiation goes through wood. My house wouldn't feel safe to me.
Hold on, I'll strike that as well.
Just wait for a question, please.
Sorry.
Have you ever seen any advertisements by the Pilgrim nuclear power plant as displayed to the public?
Yes.
And do you know if those advertisements proclaim the safety of the plant?
Yes.
Is that dated?
Yes.
The date on this is April the 20th, 2012, in advance. So I'm going to show you a document here.
I'm going to ask you if you recognize what's depicted in that.
It shows a bucolic lighthouse on the shoreline, and it says United on Safety. And Pilgrim Power Station Entergy has written about how they are absolutely committed to doing everything to keep us safe. Can I say what I did when I saw it?
Wait for a question.
Any objections?
No.
Okay.
Exhibit number 11.
Did you have a personal reaction to seeing that safety proclamation by the energy people?
Yes, I did.
And what was that, Ms. Rice?
I was enraged. I brought it to a meeting and probably said, this is how I know we're having an effect. And I felt like there is so much money that this company has to make these kinds of beautiful claims of health and safety, and what can we do?
Did you make any reference in that article about safety through evacuation plans on the Cape?
Not about evacuation, but it does say something about safety. That's their
Say
primary
anything
goal.
in there about the accessibility of potassium iodide?
No, they didn't say that either.
I meant to ask you when we were discussing the pills if you recognize these documents.
Yes.
And what are these documents?
These are pamphlets that describe what the purpose of potassium iodide is and how they function and what they mitigate against.
And where did you get those pamphlets?
I think I got them at Downwinder's meeting. I did not get them at the town medical office or anything.
And these indicate that they're about what your Board of Health wants you to know about potassium iodide. Is that correct?
Yes, but when I went to the Board of Health, they didn't have those, and they didn't know that. I got them from Cape Downwinders. Now, they may have them, but I did not get anything, and they didn't, well, they weren't forthcoming about anything.
And these pamphlets specifically reference what one might do with these pills in the event of an emergency.
Yes.
And they also talk about children and schools during a nuclear accident.
Treated from it,
Actually, they told me the pills
There's
were
no
no...
question before you right now, so just, that's okay, just hang on and wait for a question, please.
Did you read these?
Mm-hmm. Don't ask me if I remember.
And you read about the instructions relative to tablets for children as well as for adults?
Of course.
Thank you. I'd ask that these be introduced to the record.
I object for lack of foundation.
They're not coming in right now.
Fair enough.
Can I say one thing about this?
No.
Not until there's a question.
Did you have meetings with government officials relative to your concerns?
Yes.
And what government officials did you meet with?
Well, we had a big meeting at the at a town meeting in the spring in which this was discussed. I had one or two or three meetings with Senator Wolf in which he talked to people, and I hosted. We had a meeting with Keating's staff aide about our concerns. And I've been currently trying to find out about Elizabeth Warren's position.
So it's fair to say that you brought your concerns to your congressional representative's office, Mr.
Yes.
Keating.
Yes,
Did you meet with him or somebody in his office?
somebody in his office.
All right. Did you participate in the effort to get a non-binding resolution before the town of Brewster?
Yes.
Do you recall what the wording or the intent of the non-binding resolution was?
Well, the first one, I think, was just not to relicense. Another person and I went to the town officials to get that on the ballot or discussed. I don't really remember. And then I guess the second one was the non-binding resolution that was voted on last year, in which all 15 towns voted to ask the governor to close.
And that was the nature of the request, was to ask the governor to ask the Nuclear Regulatory Commission to close. Do you know of the age of this reactor?
Yes.
Do you know how many years it has been in operation?
Yes.
How many years is that?
42.
Do you know whether it was recently relicensed?
It was.
Do you know how many years it was recently relicensed for?
20.
Do you know how many comparable plants have had serious nuclear accidents during their lifetimes?
Well, I know Fukushima is the same make and model. And I know that this plant is on the 9 worst plants in the country. I don't know more details.
You don't know whether the Chernobyl plant was of the like?
I don't
make and
believe it
model,
was, but I don't know.
or the 3 Mile Island?
I don't know. I don't believe they were.
You have concerns about radiation at this current moment as distinct from an accident it might have to.
Yes.
Concerns about radiation at this current moment.
Yes.
And what are your concerns and what informs them?
I know that there is a very high rate of breast cancer in Plymouth and its environs, and I have suspicions about whether that is related to radiation being
I'll object in advance.
Okay. The objection sustained, and I will strike that.
Do you know anything about the number of spent fuel rods
Yes,
that are
I
currently
do.
being stored at the Pilgrim Nuclear Power
Yes.
Plant? Do you know what its original license was for?
Well, I know that it's now has over more than 4 times the amount, and maybe it was 800 or something, and now it's 3,800.
Objection basis of knowledge.
Have you read anything in the nature of a scientific report or a paper or anything in the newspaper
Newspapers?
about this question of how many
Oh,
rods?
absolutely. It's always in the paper. I just don't have such an incisive memory.
I think that's it. Thank you.
Mr. Dillon?
Then you were one of the trespassers on the May 19th, 2013 date, correct?
Mm-hmm.
And you just have to answer yes or no.
Yes.
Because we are being recorded. On May 19th, 2013, you deliberately stepped over the line knowing that you would be arrested if you trespass onto entity property, correct?
I think that I did not, it wasn't about a line for me. It was about making a statement.
So in order to make that statement, you knowingly breached the line that
I
you
knew
did.
that it was a risk.
And the risk was that you would be arrested for trespassing.
That's correct.
You lived on the Cape for 5 years, correct?
Mhm. Yes.
What would it take for you to move away from New York?
Wow. I think this is a hard question. I think very seriously about it because I'm fearful of this plant and being in proximity to this plant. It would break my heart because this is really where I want to be. I can tell you I do think about it. I can tell you that I dream about cancer, that I dream about why the fish are disappearing in the bay outside the reactor, and why this bucolic life that I experienced 20 years ago is fraught with so many challenges now. Yeah, I think about it.
So what would it take?
I guess for me to feel hopeless that we could not succeed here.
When did you first get the pills that they offer?
Probably 2 or 3 years ago,
So perhaps 2011, 2012?
maybe.
And when did you meet with Senator Wool?
The first time that I talked about this
Yes.
was somewhere around that time, and we had a program at the Brewster Library,
2011, 2012?
I think.
How about the representatives, senators, or representatives Keating?
Keating, we went to his office sometime this year,
2014 or 2013?
13, I think.
Last year, correct?
I think so.
Okay. And that advertisement that's now exhibit 11. I'm sorry.
I mean, the newspaper.
Newspaper. 11. Exhibit number 11. When did you first come into contact with that newspaper?
Right when
When it was first issued?
Yes, and I wrote a letter to the editor about it.
Okay. May I retrieve that exhibit?
Sure.
And just for the record, the date of offense on that one is, maybe you can help me.
Testimony is 4/12/12.
April
Is that right?
20th, 2012.
Okay. April 2000. On May 19, 2013, did you know about the March trespass?
Yes,
And you knew that there were several members of the Downwinders that went onto the premises of Energy, correct? And you knew that. You have to answer yes or no.
yes,
And you knew that as a result of trespassing, they were arrested, correct?
yes,
And you knew that they then had to go through the criminal process of going to
yes,
court.
and I came to support them.
Okay. I have no further questions.
Okay. Will you redirect?
Those KI pills, do you know who supplies them to the towns?
I believe that there is a requirement that the corporation provides them.
And relative to what the prosecutor characterized as he was stepping over the line, what was his purpose in stepping over the line?
Is that yes or no?
Oh, he asked you what your purpose was.
Okay, I'm going to tell you truthfully. I'm a Jewish woman who comes from a history in which taking risks is important to maintaining our rights. I have a child who is non-white. I understand what sacrifices were required for her to be my child and have these advantages. So for me, taking risks for things I believe is in my blood and in my genes and in my history. And so
I understand that, but what was your purpose?
my purpose was to get the plant shut down, and to make sure that people know what the truth is that doesn't get put out by the corporation and often by the media.
And what in specific relative to getting the truth out or getting the plant shut down did you hope to affect by crossing that line?
I hoped to inspire more people to become involved in this movement to shut it down, just as I had been inspired by the people who had done it earlier.
Thank you very much. I have no further questions. No questions.
All right, thank you, Mr. Escamilla.
Call Defendant William Morrow.
Okay.
Sir, please raise your right hand. Do you solemnly swear that the testimony to give the court is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
Would you please state your name and address for the record?
My name is William Marr. I live in Falmouth, Massachusetts,
How long have you lived in Falmouth,
since 1988.
and what brought you to the Cape?
I came to the Cape in 1975 looking for work, and I was in the construction trade and found plenty of work here for that.
What kind of work were you doing in construction?
Residential wood frame construction.
And how old are you?
Pardon me?
How old are you?
I'm 64.
What family do you have now?
Family, I have a very large family. I have 5 brothers and sisters, biological, and I have about 7 stepbrothers and sisters that are still alive, who I'm hoping to meet at 5 o'clock tonight for a dinner date.
How often do you get together with them on the Cape in Falmouth?
Not infrequently. They don't live on the Cape. My biological siblings live in Florida and Bristol, Rhode Island.
What problems are you aware of that they have leaving the Cape on a typical weekend?
Oh, they have the problem that everybody has. It's impossible. It's, you sit in traffic for 6 hours. No problem.
And have you experienced that yourself?
Of course I have, yes. As a young man, I used to come to the Cape during college for the weekend. Even back in the 70s, we'd be sitting in traffic. I spent a couple of Sunday afternoons counting cars going over the Bourne Bridge to see how many cars could actually go over the bridge in an hour. And, traffic on a Sunday afternoon is...
Now, why did you do that?
Well, I got involved in the evacuation plans for the Cape. And I was very curious about how many cars could actually go over the bridge. So it's about 1,350 cars per lane. So there's 2 lanes, and, so that's like 3,000 rounded off to 3,000 cars per hour.
And
before it starts bogging down.
are you familiar with the range of wind speeds that we get on the Cape coming from the north?
No, I'm not. I can't speak to that.
Well, have you experienced winds 40 miles an hour sometimes?
Yeah, we have northeasters.
You experience winds, mild winds like 20 miles an hour? Have you experienced those?
Yes, I've experienced the whole gamut of ones, hurricanes, all the weather that's occurred on the Cape since,
How many
1975.
How many miles did you travel today getting up here from Fallon?
I can't tell you exactly how many miles, but it's about 40 minutes. It's probably about 40 miles.
So have you done the math as to how many people could get off the Cape with the 20-mile-an-hour wind blowing from Pilgrim down towards the Cape before they were hit? Have you done that math?
No, I haven't done any studies about the wind speeds and the drift of a plume. It was purely the physical capabilities of the bridges. It would take days to evacuate Cape Cod entirely.
Objection.
All right, I'll strike that.
Your Honor, may I ask just that the witness speak loud enough so that I can hear him out here?
If you could, sir.
I'll try, yeah.
And actually, counsel as well. Keep your voice up.
I will try. I'll put the
As you know, the microphone doesn't amplify.
Oh, the microphone. Mr. Morrow, where were you on the afternoon of May 19th, 2013?
I was with my cohorts. I was with my cohorts, and we were demonstrating at the State Road end of Powerhouse Road at Pilgrim Power Plant.
What was your purpose for congregating at that location?
To increase awareness, public awareness, get a message out there.
And how did you expect to do that?
Through publicity. We advertised it. We asked people to join us. We invited the press to come.
May I approach, Your Honor?
Yes.
Said advertised. What role, if any, did this Exhibit 8 play in that effort?
Well, that was the principal flyer that we sent out to Cape Town Winters belongs to a coalition, Pilgrim Coalition, and there's 5 or 6 different activist organizations, Cape Cod Bay Watch, Pilgrim Watch, and so we sent it to all the members of those in the coalition.
You know what the readership of the Cape Cod Times is?
No idea.
I want to show you Exhibit number 11. And have you seen this before?
I haven't. Not until today.
You think you personally could afford to purchase that much space in the Cape Cod Times?
No, I couldn't.
Do you believe that sending that flyer out reached as many people as the Cape Cod Times ad did? Objection.
The objection sustained. You can argue that, counsel.
Now, what were your specific concerns that brought you to the Powerhouse Road on May 19th, 2013?
Yeah, I'm relatively new to this movement. I've been involved for 2 years, and what provoked me to get involved was learning more about Fukushima and what had gone on there, and what was going on in the cleanup, and how similar Pilgrim Nuclear Power Plant happens to be to the 3 that exploded at Fukushima. And so, basically, in 2 years, I've just done a lot of research on my own to understand it. And the more I research, the more concerned I get.
And is that the reason for your joining this group at Powerhouse Road?
Definitely, yeah.
And what did you expect was going to come out of that?
Well, I expected we'd be increasing awareness. We'd be getting some press. And And, you know, possibly we get to deliver a letter to the guy who was running the plant. I mean, that was the intention of the demonstration.
Were you surprised when they refused to accept the letter?
Yeah, I was surprised that the security guys would not accept the letter and hand carry it to his office.
Were you at all surprised that a large national corporation would refuse to accept such a letter from a group such as yours?
Well, I guess in retrospect, I'm not surprised.
May I approach again?
Yes.
We're looking here at exhibit number 1. And would you point out where you assembled on this map?
We're down here at 3, intersection. That's what it was. Right here at the intersection of Edison Access Road here. It's also Powerhouse Road and Route 3A.
And where did you park your car?
I parked it across the street, Elliott Lane. Elliott Lane. Sorry.
Did you at any time get anywhere near this area? It's shown in exhibit 4.
Not that day, no.
Have you been there before?
I've been up and down those roads hundreds of times.
Has anyone ever stopped you from driving up and down those roads?
No. They only stop us from being on Powerhouse Road is when we demonstrated. Otherwise, I can drive down that road anytime I wanted to.
Show you 2 photographs, exhibit 5 and exhibit 6. You recognize what's depicted there?
Yeah, that's the intersection of Route 3A, also known as State Road and Powerhouse Road.
Now, is this what it looked like more or less on May 19, 2013?
Yeah, except when I got there, the gates were already closed, the yellow gates.
Have you been there on other occasions when the gates were not closed?
Actually, that was one of the first days. That was the second day I'd ever been there. But since that time, I've driven down Powerhouse Road at least 100 times.
And when you're driving down Powerhouse Road, before you get to the end where it's depicted in Exhibit 4, have you ever seen any signs such as these posted on Exhibit number 2?
There's no signs like that on Powerhouse Road.
Are there any signs that are like this that are directed towards the traffic proceeding down the road?
On Powerhouse Road?
Yes.
The only sign that's positioned so a driver could read it is the one that says "Beware of pedestrians."
Okay, what about, are there no trespassing signs on the side?
Yeah, there are no trespassing signs, but they are, as you say. The only way you'd see the trespassing signs is if you turn and face the edge of the road.
And what does that tell you, what those no trespassing signs mean?
Well, it tells me that the woods are, posted.
Off limits?
Yeah, it doesn't tell me the road is posted.
What, in your understanding, if anything, has happened as a result of your joining with the Cape Downwinders to demonstrate and express your concern about the plant safety at Pilgrim since May 19, 2013?
Say it again, please.
What effect, if any, do you think your joining with Pilgrim Downwinders at Powerhouse Road has had?
I think the event, standing on its own, is a very small event. I think the accumulation of the events as they occur then and have occurred afterwards are very significant. I mean, we did get to see the governor, and I can't say that this trespass affected that, but I think it certainly contributed to our ability to see the governor. I can only, it's a guess, but Representative Keating is willing to see us. Dan Wolf has been very willing to see us. I've gone to meet with our state rep, Mr. Vieira. We have a tentative meeting to meet with another state rep, Timothy Madden. We're also, it's also our concerns, whether they be expressed by this action or by our letters to the newspapers or by some of our other demonstrations, like at the Sagamore Bridge. And I really think they play a large role in opening doors to us to be heard.
May I approach? Okay.
Yes.
And what else, besides doing what you did at Powerhouse Road on May 19, 2013, what else besides doing something as dramatic as that do you think could match in any way this full-color, full-page ad in the Cape Cod Times by Energy Corp?
Well, you can't miss that. I mean, the stuff we do, you can miss, unless you get a flyer in the mail.
Or unless you get arrested?
Well, getting arrested is meant to draw attention to it. It's also a measurement of, personally, of my resolve about how important an issue this is.
I want to show you one more photograph. This has been marked Exhibit 7, produced by the Commonwealth. Do you recall what these folks there were singing that day?
No, I don't really recall. I couldn't tell you.
But you recall that they were singing?
Yeah, we sang songs that day. Yeah.
No further questions.
Killen?
In 60 syllables or less, can you tell us about that car counting study you did?
The car count?
Yeah, tell us.
I went down two Sunday afternoons, prime time from about 1 o'clock until 3, and had a little clicker, counted cars going over the bridge, and I would do it for a half an hour period, and I repeated it 3 times on 2 different weekends, and the first weekend it really didn't bog down too much. The second weekend I did it, the traffic actually bogged down because of the volume of cars going over the bridge, not because of what was happening at the road. And I did some more research about the Department of Transportation's design capacities for different sized lanes and things like that.
How did you do that?
On the internet. I'm a civil engineer.
Testify that the signs that are along the roadways leading up to the power plant led you to believe that you couldn't trespass in the wooded areas opposed to the road.
On Powerhouse Road, yes.
But it's true that the personnel at Venturgy and the police department did tell you that you would be trespassing if you stayed on the road.
They definitely did.
And despite that, you continued to trespass.
I made a decision to trespass.
When you trespassed, this is May 19th, 2013, correct?
Yes.
When you trespassed, you weren't the first person to go between the gates and step forward and then subsequently be arrested, right?
I was not the first person.
There were other people that stepped forward and were then arrested, and then you continued behind them.
Correct.
So
Yeah, one of the security guys actually pulled the gate open so he could go through.
So this continued until everyone that was going to complete the trespass finished, and everyone was arrested. How would you describe that experience?
It was very peaceful. I mean, people knew what they were doing. It was a conscious decision that everybody made to get arrested. I believe it was my conscious decision anyway, to speak for myself. The police were very cordial. It was like a day at the beach. I mean, it was, I saw one of the police officers outside here during the break, and I was talking to him because we've seen each other a couple of times. They knew, the police knew we were going to get arrested, and a number of us got arrested, and it was almost choreographed.
This, if I may approach, exhibit number 11, this ad that keeps popping up here. When Ms. Bryce Moore brought this to the meeting, were you at that meeting?
No, today's the first time I've ever seen that.
Okay. It's all right. No further questions. Thank you.
Any follow-up, Council?
Just brief redirect, thank you. When the security guards for Entergy Corporation said to you, no trespassing beyond this gate, did you form a belief as to their reason for that?
Okay.
I'll let him answer yes or no, but may not get it clearly.
Did you?
You're going to have to ask the question again.
When they said to you, no trespassing, no going beyond this gate, did you form a belief as to their reason for telling you that?
Yes, I suppose I did, yes.
Was there anything that you observed from yourself, your own conduct, or the conduct of any of your companions that you felt would give them a basis to be concerned for the security of Powerhouse Road or the plant beyond it?
That would, just my opinion, that shouldn't have been an issue to anybody.
Were you and your companions doing anything other than peaceably assembling, singing songs, and holding signs?
That's all we were doing.
Thank you.
No.
All right, Mr. Moore, you're all set.
Thank you.
Okay, who's next?
Sarah Thatcher.
Actually, can I see Council for a minute over here?
Ma'am, could you please raise your right hand? Do you solemnly swear that the testimony to give the court is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God? Thank you.
You can stand?
Only if you're comfortable, otherwise you just stay the way you are. Tell the court your full name and spell your last name, please.
Sarah Winslow Thatcher.
And spell Thatcher, please.
Thatcher.
And Miss Thatcher, how old are you?
I'm 79.
And where do you live, Miss Thatcher?
I live in Dennis, Massachusetts.
And who do you live there with?
My husband, Ben.
And do you have any children?
I have a lot of children.
How many children, in your view, counts as a lot?
I have 9 children, but they do not live with me.
I understand. And of these children, you have grandchildren?
I have 14 grandchildren.
And do you have great-grandchildren?
I do. I have 2 and a half. I have one coming up in April.
And are you currently employed?
No, I'm somebody who can give this effort to make this world a better place and a cleaner place because I don't work. And that's my work.
Would it be fair to characterize you as an activist?
I guess you can do that for good reason.
Have you been concerned about issues of nuclear plant safety for a while?
For quite a while, since the 80s.
When do you recall your first involvement with the issue of plant safety at the Pilgrim nuclear power plant?
In the late 80s, that plant was closed for a period of time, and I joined a group, and we walked on the property and tried to keep that plant closed then.
Why do you want to keep the plant closed?
it's an enormous hazard to everybody who lives on the eastern seaboard and further in. It is a plant that is spewing radiation in the atmosphere. It is dumping tritium into the bay.
Okay.
Yeah, I will strike that. Next question. Hold on 1 minute, Ms. Thatcher. We just need to wait for the next question.
You have opinions or beliefs about the safety of that plant. Is that fair to say?
That's fair to say.
And what informs your opinions or beliefs? What has brought you to these conclusions?
I think because of the amount of time that I have been going to meeting with, in the 80s we went to meetings, and some of the experts that you're going to see here testified at various times. And of course, I keep daily track in the newspaper, and I read, and sometimes if I'm giving a talk at my select board or something like that, I have to read up so I know, I can convince them that I know what I'm talking about.
What sources do you refer to when you do this reading?
Well, I do a lot of reading on publications that I get through the email, and they are, I think, very informed sources. I can't, think of a book that I've read on it. I'm not a technical kind of person, but I have been involved with this plant because of having so many children and grandchildren, and realizing that I have a responsibility to look into this world I'm leaving them. And it's frightening, really, to see what is happening here, around the corner from here. And I have a great desire to stop it, because we're only adding to the waste over there continually. And we are, as the little girl said, leaving a big problem for our younger generation, a big problem on their hands if we don't do something.
Do you know who Dr. Helen Caldecott is?
Yes, I do.
Have you ever met with Dr. Caldecott?
Yes.
Have you heard Dr. Caldecott speak?
Yes.
And has anything that you've heard or spoken with her about affected your views as to the risks and dangers presented by the Pilgrim nuclear power plant?
Yes, she gives a very good analysis of how the mining, she lives in Australia, how the mining of the, whatever it is that, you know what I mean, the mining of the uranium has been deadly to the workers over there. And then all of the process of working with radioactive materials. Of course, I had breast cancer. I know that the breast cancer rates on the Cape are phenomenally high, and I think that is one of the things that we really have to look at this plant, because I think it is part of our responsibility to get to the heart of why these breast cancer rates are so high on the Cape.
Are you familiar with the work of Dr. Richard Clapp?
Yes.
Has any of Dr. Clapp's work
I guess, yes.
Were you at any of the hearings relative to the relicensing of the plant?
I think back in the last time, I certainly was involved with, from town to town, we do some projects, getting people informed about what was going on, and we did some work educating our towns about this relicensing. It was another non-binding question in which our town voted not to have the plant relicensed.
What is your intention in doing this work?
To make a cleaner world for our children.
And what is your intention doing this work specifically in relationship to the Pilgrim nuclear power plant?
To shut it down, and then the enormous problem is how to clean it up.
Have you ever been at any meetings where the former chair of the Nuclear Commission, Mr. Jasko, spoke?
Yes.
Do you, of your own personal knowledge, know of his vote relative to the relicensing of the plant?
Yes.
And what was that vote?
He voted not to relicense.
And did you, is your opinion, is your view of the dangers represented by that plant informed in part by Mr. Jasko's vote?
Yes, in somewhat, but he was rather laterally, seemed to wake up about it. I don't think he was as active as he should have been for a long time before that vote.
By laterally, you mean late as opposed to on the side of?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's that Cape accent.
Yeah.
Anything else that has informed your opinion, your view, your feelings, your concerns relative to the safety of the Pilgrim nuclear power plant today?
I think what it's really woken me up to the fact that even our governor, and certainly even all of us regular people, have practically no influence in what's going on in our neighborhoods. And we feel like we are hamstrung. And that's why it creates great frustration.
Are you by any chance familiar with the phrase federal preemption?
I've heard it, but I'm not just sure what it means.
Thank you very much, Ms. Thatcher. Stay there because there may be
The
some...
prosecutor has a few questions.
Okay.
Very quick. Ms. Thatcher, would I be correct in saying that you have 11 pretty strong fans?
They're a good group.
On May 19, 2013, were you one of the folks that trespassed on entity property and were arrested?
Yes.
I have no further questions.
All right, Mrs. Thatcher, thank you very much.
You don't want to hear again what her purpose was of trespassing? You opened the door.
Ms. Thatcher, if you'd stand right where you are, one question.
Could you tell us what your purpose was in trespassing on the date in question?
I had a purpose of trying, as all of my compatriots did, closing that plant and raising a ruckus.
Thank you.
All right, I understand we've exhausted our witnesses for today, is that right?
In all the meetings of that word, you're out.
All right, we'll start back up at 9 o'clock tomorrow morning. Is there anything I need to address before then?
Thank you so much, Your Honor. Thank you, Mr. Clark.
All right.
Appreciate it.